All right, this is the Code Breakers. This is Paradox. I'm here solo today. DC should be jumping on at some point, I would assume. I don't know. We got to get to it though. You know what I'm saying? We can't wait for nobody. Uh, Kamala's going live. I think they're gonna. I guess already not going live, but a pre-recorded show um, at 9 p.m. I think on CNN with Dana Bash. So we got to see what she's talking about, what they talking about. It's gonna be very interesting for her first interview. A lot going on. Big Trump, he is doing a town hall with Tulsi Gabbard. So they got. I didn't even know they were doing that. I just happened to pull that up online. Like, oh, they live already. JD Vance gets booed at a union at a a union location with the fire department. Oh, so that was pretty funny. Um, what else is going on? Something else I saw earlier today. Oh yeah, and she gave and Kamala gave a speech today as well. I think she's in Savannah, Georgia. I'm not sure if JD. I'm not sure if JD. I'm not sure if Tim. I'm assuming he did something today too, but I have to go and check and see. But anyway, today is August the 29th, 2024. So we have been told, and we're gonna get started. I'm gonna play a little bit of Mob Deep for about 3 or 4 minutes, and then we're gonna get the rolling. I mean, I'll play the whole thing. I'm gonna play some of it though. Then we can get started.
How should voters look at some of the changes that you've made, that you've explained some of here in your policy? Is it because you have more experience now and you've learned more about the information? Is it because you were running for president in a Democratic primary? And should they feel comfortable and confident that what you're saying now is going to be your policy moving forward?
Dana, I think the most important and most significant aspect of my policy perspective and decisions is my values have not changed. You mentioned the Green New Deal. I have always believed, and I have worked on it, that the climate crisis is real, that it is an urgent matter to which we should apply metrics that include holding ourselves to deadlines around time. We did that with the Inflation Reduction Act. We have set goals for the United States of America and by extension the globe around when we should meet certain standards for reduction of greenhouse gas emissions, as an example. That value has not changed. My value around what we need to do to secure our border, that value has not changed. I spent 2 terms as the Attorney General of California prosecuting transnational criminal organizations, violations of American laws regarding the illegal passage of guns, drugs, and human beings across our border. My values have not changed.
And breaking news.
Let's get right to the breaking news on CNN's exclusive interview with Kamala Harris and Tim Walz. We're rolling out a brand new excerpt right now. CNN anchor and chief political correspondent Dana Bash is joining us live from Savannah, Georgia, where she sat down with Vice President Harris and Governor Walz a short while ago. Dana, so what stood out to you about Harris's answers?
Hi, Alex. Well, we talked about a range of issues, including what is happening here domestically, particularly with the crisis of people not feeling that they can afford basic things, groceries.
Because this crowd or those who are watching here tonight who may be going through this same struggle and are concerned about being able to have this option, either because they might not be able to afford it, or they're concerned that it just may not be available. And I'd love for you to talk to them about how they should feel.
Well, thank you very much, Kelsey. And I didn't know about your situation. And it's tough stuff, right? Tough. Life is pretty tough. It can be beautiful.
Into debt just for the hope of being able to start their own family.
Well, it's big. And you know what? We want to produce babies in this country, right? We want to produce babies. So I think it's going to be something we sort of announced it a little bit. We were in a great place, Michigan. We all love Michigan, right? We're going to bring back the car industry, and we're going to get a lot of it back to Michigan. They've been taking our cars away. They've been taking our manufacturing away over years, over decades. And if you look at it today, it's a shell of what it was years ago, but we're going to bring it back. Mexico is right now building massive car factories, actually being financed and built by China. And they think they're going to sell their cars back into our country. It's not going to happen. That's not going to happen. Oh, listen to that. That is not going to happen. But so many things have gone wrong in the car industry. The union leadership has been horrible. I think I'm going to win by 85%, the union, but because we're bringing it back. And we're going to have electric cars, but we're going to have gasoline-powered cars, and we're going to have hybrids. We're going to have every kind of car. We're not going with just that. But I just felt that it would be a good place to announce it. And
leadership. Look, when I look out at our young leaders like Caitlin, I know our future is so bright. It is so bright. There you are. Thank you so very much. The chair of the Democratic Party of Georgia, for your friendship and your sisterhood, and to all the leaders. So, Georgia, I love you back. I love you back. And we have 68 days to go until this election. 68 days to go. And I think you all have spent your time here, sacrificing all your other obligations to be here together, us as one community, knowing we all have so much more in common than what separates us. And I thank you for taking that time. And listen, so we're here to speak truth. And one of the things that we know, this is going to be a tight race until the very end. Okay? So let's not pay too much attention to the polls, because we are running as the underdog. Okay? And we have some hard work ahead of us, but we like hard work. Hard work is good work. Hard work is good work. And with your help, we are going to win this November. We are going to win this November. Yes, we will. So look, Georgia, let me say, I'm no stranger to tough fights. Before I was elected vice president, before I was elected a United States senator, I was an elected attorney general, and before that, an elected district attorney. And before that, I was a courtroom prosecutor. So
you're just sitting on the sideline, you really don't understand the difference, the nuances, and the struggles of trying to do the right thing for our people. When I wrote the article about you, you know, and I just outlined everything that every Black man in the barbershop, Black woman would talk about in the conversations, because I always go back to it, because basically everything that everybody was saying about you, whether she's Black enough, does she like Black men? She's putting Black people in jail. You know, the common things that was actually said. But at the same time, I write that, and I didn't have a conversation with you. When we had the conversation and we talked about it, we talked about the different things. It was almost, and after the conversation, I felt like I was actually certifying you, because we were talking about fried chicken and talking about all these different things. And then we talked about the gun and the FICA score and these different, so it was like, okay, it's like, I like this lady. You know what I'm saying? She's about everything that we're about, the struggles and the things that we have to deal with on a daily basis as activists in our community. And so how did I come to that place? And then that's when I ended up writing the other article saying, okay, this is this, you know, because, you know, and you know, again, we get to the point where we prejudge a person. So then now I'm out here fighting the fight of the same thing I basically wrote, you know, and I'm trying to convince people that no, that was wrong. Let me ask you. So when you're campaigning and you're doing your strategies and everything, and you're trying to prove to African American women that you're Black enough, and African American men that you're Black enough, you know who Kamala is. You've been you forever. And you lived a life, and you lived in the neighborhood. You went to the Black university. You lived a life as an African American. That have people question that. How you really
That's
feel
a great
about that?
question. It's very frustrating. That's a great question. Because to your point, exactly to your point, Uncle Luke, it is, I know who I am. I was raised to have pride. I mean, I could go on and on about who I am, right? But and who I was born as, not just who I became. It wasn't like some process of enlightenment. Like this has not been a process of discovery for me. You know, in fact, I think the frustration is that other people want me to take them through their process of discovery.
Exactly.
About trying to understand it.
Right.
And it's a challenge. I mean, but this is look, all of us who have become the first, part of the challenge is that people have their boxes about who people are. It's in their mind. They have this set of boxes, and they're trying to figure out which one do you fit into, right? But the number of boxes they have is limited to whatever they've seen before, usually, right? And we're asking them to see something that they've not seen before, and then figure out where to put that. I might give you an example, because I have thought about this. If I use this phrase, just close your eyes for a moment and then think about what you see. The boy next door. For most of America, what does that look like?
Yeah.
Right? It's the boy next door. 4 words speak volumes about the age, the look, the character of who we're talking about.
You're right about that. Yep.
What 4 words would immediately let you know about who I am? It's not in the vocabulary.
It's not. When people question your blackness, you were on that bus, you were part of the civil rights movement, but the struggle is convincing people that this is a strong Black woman who lives a strong Black life, and why is there any question?
You're right. It's frustrating. There was this one journalist who said to me, I'm doing this interview, and he says, well, you have family members that went to Stanford and Harvard, but you chose to go to Howard. No, elite schools like Stanford, but you chose to go to Howard. Now, I was ready to hang this thing up.
Right.
I
We do the big announcement tonight in front of all of these television stations, all of the fake news, the fake, they're all over the place. They're all over the place. I don't know what's going on. We don't even know. I was saying, because we're doing this, and I finished, and I figured I was going to come here, and we're going to make a speech. I had a speech all set for you. I was ready. They said, sir, you're actually doing a town hall. I said, oh, nobody told me that. I said, who's doing it? They said, Tulsi. I said, well, that's at least good news. I've been a fan of hers for a long time, I have to tell you. So I didn't even know. I'm in the plane, and I'm looking over some material, and we're going to give you a hell of a speech tonight. We were set to give you one hell of a speech. They said, no, sir, it's a town hall. I said, why doesn't somebody tell me this stuff? And I don't even have any idea who we're doing it for. I don't know. Is it for a network or what? I see a lot of television all over the place, so maybe it's on all of them. But I did get to see the strangest thing today. I looked at the news conference of Kamala. I call her Comrade Kamala. She's you know that. She's a Marxist. Her father was a Marxist before her. So she was brought up in the family tradition. And she really is, and this country is not ready for a Marxist. We don't want a Marxist as a president. And she destroyed San Francisco. She destroyed California. And we're not going to let it destroy our country. I'll tell you, it's not going to happen. So, but just to finish, so for some reason, she doesn't want to talk to anybody. So she's either not the smartest light in the ceiling. I'm trying to be nice here. I want to be. They say, be nice, sir, be nice. It's hard to be nice when somebody is destroying your country and wants to destroy your country. It's hard to be like nice. But she is, she was a terrible vice president. She was a terrible border czar, worst in history, probably, not just in this country. But the border, millions and millions of people, I say 20 million plus, have poured through the border during their term. I had the safest border in the history of our country. They have the most unsafe border in the history of the world. And they're coming through, and many of them are from prisons and jails. There's a slight difference, as you know, prisons and jails. Many are from mental institutions and insane asylums, and many are terrorists, and they're pouring into our country at a level. I don't know if you saw the news today, Tulsi. They had a lot of them, Venezuelan people with lots of machine guns taking over a building someplace. I'm looking, I'm saying, where is that? They went in and they took over a building. This is just the beginning. They're taking their criminals from all over the world, not just South America, not just Venezuela, which you've been reading about, all over the world. They're taking their criminals and they're dumping them into the United States. Kamala is allowing it to happen. And they actually want to give them papers. They want to make them citizens, and they want to give them your Social Security. They want to give them your Medicare, and your Social Security will collapse under her. I'm the one that's going to protect the Social Security. But they're coming. I will totally protect, as I did for 4 years. And there was no age increase. There was no anything. We're going to protect. You know, they destroy you with inflation, and then they want to destroy your Social Security. So it's not going to happen. But this is.
And today, we know that we have inflation at under 3%. A lot of our policies have led to the reality. What we need to do to extend the child tax credit to help young families be able to take care of their children in their most formative years. What we need to do to bring down the cost of housing. My proposal includes what would be a tax credit of $25,000 for first-time home buyers, so they can just have enough to put a down payment on a home, which is part of the American dream and their aspiration, but do it in a way that allows them to actually get on the path to achieving that goal and that dream.
So you have been vice president for 3.5 years.
Yeah.
The steps that you're talking about now, why haven't you done them already?
Well, first of all, we had to recover as an economy, and we have done that. I'm very proud of the work that we have done that has brought inflation down to less than 3%. The work that we have done to cap the cost of insulin at $35 a month for seniors. Donald Trump said he was going to do a number of things, including allowing Medicare to negotiate drug prices. Never happened. We did it. So now, as I travel in the state of Georgia and around our country, the number of seniors that have benefited, I was in Nevada recently, a grandmother who showed me her receipts. And before we capped the cost of insulin for seniors at $35 a month, she was paying hundreds of dollars, up to thousands of dollars a month for her insulin. She's not doing that
So you
anymore.
maintain Bidenomics is a success.
I maintain that when we do the work of bringing down prescription medication for the American people, including capping the cost
Weird
of
question.
the annual cost of prescription medication for seniors at $2,000, when we do what we did in the first year of being in office to extend the child tax credit so that we cut child poverty in America by over 50%, when we do what we have done to invest in the American people and bringing manufacturing back to the United States so that we created over 800,000 new manufacturing jobs, bringing business back to America, what we have done to improve the supply chain so we're not relying on foreign governments to supply American families with their basic needs, I'll say that that's good work. There's more to do, but that's good work.
I want to get some clarity on where you stand on some key policy issues. Energy is a big one. When you were in Congress, you supported the Green New Deal. And in 2019, you said, quote, "There is no question I'm in favor of banning fracking." Fracking, as you know, is a pretty big issue, particularly in your must-win state of Pennsylvania.
Sure.
Do you still want to ban fracking?
No, and I made that clear on the debate stage in 2020, that I would not ban fracking. As vice president, I did not ban fracking. As president, I will not ban fracking.
Wow.
In 2019, I believe, at a town hall, you said you were asked, would you commit to implementing a federal ban on fracking on your first day in office? And you said, there's no question I'm in favor of banning fracking. So yes. So it changed in that campaign?
Mm-hmm.
In 2020, I made very clear where I stand. We are in 2024, and I've not changed that position, nor will I going forward. I kept my word, and I will keep my word.
What made you change that position at the time?
Well, let's be clear. My values have not changed. I believe it is very important that we take seriously what we must do to guard against what is a clear crisis in terms of the climate. And to do that, we can do what we have accomplished thus far. The Inflation Reduction Act, what we have done to invest, by my calculation, over probably $1 trillion over the next 10 years, investing in a clean energy economy. What we've already done, creating over 300,000 new clean energy jobs. That tells me From my experience as vice president, we can do it without banning fracking. In fact, Dana, excuse me, I cast the tie-breaking vote that actually increased leases for fracking
Yeah.
as vice president. So I'm very clear about where I stand.
And was there some policy or scientific data that you saw that you said, oh, okay, I get it now?
What I have seen is that we can grow and we can increase a thriving clean energy economy without banning fracking.
Another issue, big one, is immigration.
Mhm.
As vice president, you were tasked with addressing the root causes of migration in southern countries and
Northern part of Central America.
the northern part
in particular, yeah.
of Central America that affects the southern border of the U.S.
Mhm.
During the Biden-Harris administration, there were record numbers of illegal border crossings. Why did the Biden-Harris administration wait 3.5 years to implement sweeping asylum restrictions?
Well, first of all, the root causes work that I did as vice president that I was asked to do by the president has actually resulted in a number of benefits, including historic investments by American businesses in that region. The number of immigrants coming from that region has actually reduced since we began that work. But I will say this, that Joe Biden and I and our administration worked with members of the United States Congress on an immigration issue that is very significant to the American people and to our security, which is the border. And through bipartisan work, including some of the most conservative members of the United States Congress, a bill was crafted, which we supported, which I support. And Donald Trump got word of this bill that would have contributed to securing our border. And because he believes that it would not have helped him politically, he told his folks in Congress, don't put it forward. He killed the bill. A border security bill that would have put 1,500 more agents on the border. And let me tell you something, the Border Patrol endorsed the bill. And I'm sure in large part because they knew they were working around the clock and 1,500 more agents would help them. That bill would have allowed us to increase seizures of fentanyl. Ask any community in America that has been devastated by fentanyl what passing that bill would have done to address their concern and a pain that they've experienced.
So you would push that legislation again. I just want to
Not
ask
only
about
push it, I will make sure that it comes to my desk and I would sign it.
just one other question about something that you said in 2019 when you first ran. There was a debate. You raised your hand when asked whether or not the border should be decriminalized. Do you still believe that?
I believe there should be consequence. We have laws that have to be followed and enforced that address and deal with people who cross our border illegally, and there should be consequence. And let's be clear, in this race, I'm the only person who has prosecuted transnational criminal organizations who traffic forced.
There was a debate. You raised your hand when asked whether or not the border should be decriminalized. Do you still believe that?
I believe there should be consequence. We have laws that have to be followed and enforced that address and deal with people who cross our border illegally, and there should be consequence. And let's be clear, in this race, I'm the only person who has prosecuted transnational criminal organizations who traffic in guns, drugs, and human beings. I'm the only person in this race who actually served a border state as Attorney General to enforce our laws, and I would enforce our laws as president going forward. I recognize the problem.
Generally speaking, how should voters look at some of the changes that you've made, that you've explained some of here in your policy? Is it because you have more experience now and you've learned more about the information? Is it because you were running for president in a Democratic primary? And should they feel comfortable and confident that what you're saying now is going to be your policy moving forward?
Dana, I think the most important and most significant aspect of my policy perspective and decisions is my values have not changed. You mentioned the Green New Deal. I have always believed, and I have worked on it, that the climate crisis is real, that it is an urgent matter to which we should apply metrics that include holding ourselves to deadlines around time. We did that with the Inflation Reduction Act. We have set goals for the United States of America and by extension, the globe around when we should meet certain standards for reduction of greenhouse gas emissions. As an example, that value has not changed. My value around what we need to do to secure our border, that value has not changed. I spent 2 terms as the Attorney General of California prosecuting transnational criminal organizations, violations of American laws regarding the illegal passage of guns, drugs, and human beings across our border. My values have not changed. So that is the reality of it. And 4 years of being vice president, I'll tell you, one of the aspects to your point is traveling the country extensively. I mean, I'm here in Georgia. I think somebody told me 17 times since I've been vice president in Georgia alone. I believe it is important to build consensus. And it is important to find a common place of understanding of where we can actually solve problems.
On that note, you
Strong
had a lot
answer.
of Republican
Very
speakers
strong.
at the convention. Will you appoint a Republican to your cabinet?
Yes, I would.
Anyone
Yes,
in mind?
I would. No one in particular in mind. We got 68 days to go with this election, so I'm not putting the cart before the horse, but I would. I think it's really important. I have spent my career inviting diversity of opinion. I think it's important to have people at the table when some of the most important decisions are being made that have different views, different experiences. And I think it would be to the benefit of the American public to have a member of my cabinet who was a Republican.
That was just the start of our wide-ranging conversation, and we have some never-before-shared details about the phone call that changed everything between President Joe Biden and Vice President Kamala Harris.
Ooh.
There's no such thing. The country is just starting to get to know you. I want to ask you a question about how you've described your service in the National Guard. You said that you carried weapons in war, but you have never deployed actually in a war zone. A campaign official said that you misspoke. Did you?
Wow. All right, guys, that's the first break. Wow, they're still giving me hitting walls on this stolen valor stuff, even after this whole Arlene.
And love you back. And I will tell you, when we get this done together, my friend, and when I am president, I will take on the bad actors who exploit a crisis to rip off consumers on everyday items. Who rip off consumers on everyday items like groceries. I will take on Big Pharma and cap the cost of prescription drugs and insulin for all Americans. I will take on the high cost of housing and work with developers to cut the red tape and build millions of new homes. And I will give 100 million Americans a tax cut, including $6,000 to families during the first year of their child's life. Understanding folks just need a little help from time to time. And it's not about just getting by, it's about getting ahead. $6,000 in the first year of a child's life to help pay for that car seat or the crib or the baby clothes. And unlike Donald Trump, I will always put the middle class and working class families first. Always. I come from the middle class. I know what I'm talking about. And Savannah, but we got some work to do, okay? We got some work to do because we know Donald Trump has a very different plan. He has a very different plan. Just look at his Project 2025 agenda. Right. If he is elected, Donald Trump intends to give tax breaks to billionaires and big corporations. He intends to cut Social Security and Medicare. And he wants to impose what in effect is a national sales tax on everyday products and basic necessities. And it will cost, the economists will tell you, it will cost a typical American family nearly $4,000 a year. So Georgia, on top of all of this, if Donald Trump wins in November, he intends to end the Affordable Care Act, to take us back to a time when insurance companies were not going back. We're not going. We are not. We're going forward. And the reason we know we can't go back, to your point, the reason we know we can't go back on the issue of the Affordable Care Act, remember what that was like before we had the Affordable Care Act? Remember when insurance companies had the power to deny people with pre-existing conditions? Remember what that was like? Children with...
The only time they've even been in the same room was when Harris was a senator watching Trump's State of the Union address. Now it's Trump watching Harris on the campaign trail with money and momentum behind her and making her case directly to voters.
As voters are getting to know Kamala Harris, they want answers on how she will make their lives better. She heard that here at Sandfly Barbecue in Savannah.
What we're going to do to increase access to capital for small businesses, I'll be rolling out next week. Part of what we're going to be doing in terms of a tax credit.
On the trail, she talks about her experience, years in the courtroom as a district attorney and eventually California's attorney general. She wants to reframe the contest as the prosecutor versus the felon.
I know Donald Trump's type. I've been dealing with them my whole career.
The former president is turning to a well-defined playbook of personal attacks.
I didn't know she was black until a number of years ago when she happened to turn black, and now she wants to be known as black.
And in just 12 days, the nominees will meet face-to-face for the first time.
She's not a good debater. She's not a smart person. She doesn't want to debate.
If you've got something to say, say it to my face.
How's the audio, guys? Good?
I want to ask you about your opponent, Donald Trump. I was a little bit surprised. People might be surprised to hear that you have never interacted with him, met him face to face. That's going to change soon. But what I want to ask you about is what he said last month. He suggested that you happened to turn black recently for political purposes, questioning a core part of your identity.
Yeah.
Any
Same old tired playbook. Next question, please.
That's it?
That's it.
Okay. Let's talk about some foreign policy issues that would be on your plate if you become commander in chief. President Biden has tried unsuccessfully to end the war between Israel and Hamas in Gaza. He's been doing it for months and months, along with you. Would you do anything differently? For example, would you withhold some U.S. weapons shipments to Israel? That's what a lot of people on the progressive left want you to do.
Let me be very clear. I am unequivocal and unwavering in my commitment to Israel's defense and its ability to defend itself. And that's not going to change. But let's take a step back. October 7, 1,200 people were massacred. Many young people who were simply attending a music festival. Women were horribly raped. As I said then, I say today, Israel has a right to defend itself. We would. And how it does so matters. Far too many innocent Palestinians have been killed. And we have got to get a deal done. We were in Doha. We have to get a deal done. This war must end.
In the meantime,
and we must get a deal that is about getting the hostages out. I've met with the families of the American hostages. Let's get the hostages out. Let's get the ceasefire done.
but no change in policy in terms of arms and so forth.
No, we have to get a deal done. Dana, we have to get a deal done. When you look at the significance of this to the families, to the people who are living in that region, a deal is not only the right thing to do to end this war, but will unlock so much of what must happen next. I
I'm
remain
gonna need some
committed
mods,
since I've been
guys.
on October 8th to what we must do to work toward a two-state solution where Israel is secure and in equal measure, the Palestinians have security and self-determination and dignity.
Governor Walz, the country is just starting to get to know you. I want to ask you a question about how you've described your service in the National Guard. You said that you carried weapons in war, but you have never deployed actually in a war zone. A campaign official said that you misspoke. Did you?
Well, first of all, I'm incredibly proud. I've done 24 years of wearing the uniform of this country. Equally proud of my service in a public school classroom, whether it's Congress or the governor. My record speaks for itself, but I think people are coming to get to know me. I speak like they do. I speak candidly. I wear my emotions on my sleeves, and I speak especially passionately about our children being shot in schools and around guns. So I think people know me. They know who I am. They know where my heart is. And again, my record has been out there for over 40 years to speak for itself.
And the idea that you said that you were in war, did you misspeak as the campaign has said?
Yeah, I said we were talking about, in this case, this was after a school shooting, the ideas of carrying these weapons of war. And my wife, the English teacher, told me my grammar is not always correct. But again, if it's not this, it's an attack on my children for showing love for me, or it's an attack on my dog. I'm not going to do that. And the one thing I'll never do is I'll never demean another member's service in any way. I never have, and I never will.
I just one other question, because again, this is all new.
Yeah.
I mean, this was not however many days ago. This was not on either of your bingo cards, especially yours. You had to clarify that you had said that you and your wife used IVF, but it turned out you used a different kind of fertility in order to have children. And then when you ran for Congress in 2006, your campaign repeatedly made false statements about a 1995 arrest for drunk and reckless driving. What do you say to voters who aren't sure whether they can take you at your word?
Well, I've been very public. I think they can see my students come out, former folks I've served with, and they vouch for me. I certainly own my mistakes when I make them. The one thing I'll tell you is I wished in this country wouldn't have to do this. I spoke about our infertility issues because it's hell, and families know this. And I spoke about the treatments that were available to us that had those beautiful children there. That's quite a contrast in folks that are trying to take those rights away from us. And so I think people know who I am. They know that record. They've seen that. I've taught thousands of students. I've been out there, and I won't apologize for speaking passionately, whether it's guns in schools or protecting of reproductive rights. The contrast could not be clearer between what we're running against. The vice president's position on this has been clear. And I think most Americans get it if you've been through that. I don't think they're cutting hairs on IVF or IUI. I think what they're cutting hairs on is an abortion ban and the ability to be able to deny families the chance to have a beautiful child.
Up next, the moment that changed everything when Kamala Harris got a phone call from President Biden that he was dropping out of the race.
It was a Sunday. So here, I'll give you a little too much information.
Go for it. There's no such thing, Madam Vice President.
My family was staying with us, and including my baby nieces.
Speaking of those baby nieces, the vice president also opens up about a viral picture from the convention that meant
Howard. No, elite schools like Stanford, but you chose to go to Howard. Now, you know, I was ready to hang this thing up.
Right.
I was literally, I was about to go off, which would not have been cool because I'm trying to get elected.
Yeah. But you went to Howard.
But they went to these elite schools, and you went to, and I said, well, you do know that Howard University is the Mecca. Like,
Exactly.
Just put that, let's put that in its place. And so the frustration, to be honest with you, is that You know, sometimes I'm like, look, I am not running to be Black history professor. I'm running to be president.
Right.
And you all need to figure this out. And you need to figure out the diaspora. People would say that, and I'd say, you know, I went to Howard University, and let me just tell you what that is. If you stand in the middle of the yard, looking around campus, you'll see young Black students who are walking around in lab coats. They're in the School of Medicine. Over there, walking around with briefcases. Over there in leotards, the School of Fine Arts. Over there, right? And so your limited view of who people are, don't put that on him, because you don't have the ability to see, right? The variety and the diversity and the depth of who we are.
It is sad that people still think that way.
I mean, look, there's still so much, there's still so much work to be done that is about, you know, breaking barriers and showing people what success looks like. And it's not that 1950s Mad Men version of success.
Right.
Like that
Right.
is still very much in the mindset of a lot of the American public, whoever they are, whatever their race or gender, that's what success looks like.
Being that you from the same hood that I'm from, which Miami is no different than Oakland, no different than Baltimore. When you address the issues of gun violence, because you understand it. And that's why I tell people all the time. And yesterday we were having a conversation with different people, you know, and it's good. I like that because it's authentic and it's genuine when people share their thoughts, whether you put it on social media or not, and you have a back and forth dialogue. Guns in our community versus guns in the community that's down the street from my house, which is Parkland.
I believe it's a false choice to say you either believe in the Second Amendment or you want to take everyone's guns away. That's how I think about gun safety laws. Assault weapons ban. So here's how I think about it. The assault weapon was designed to kill a lot of human beings quickly. That is its whole purpose for being. And there is no room for that on the streets of a civil society. It is a weapon of war.
No question about it. No question about it.
The leading cause of death of young Black men in America is gun violence, and literally greater than the next 9 combined. So of the variety of health or accident, the accidents that cause death for young Black men, the gun violence is greater than all of the next 9 combined.
Wow. The data shows that our kids are getting killed in the daytime. You have education. So when the standardized testing, everybody just focused on the test. So what ends up happening is now the test is connected to the grade point average of the school. So in order for the school to stay open, you have to be at least a C or B school, because a lot of the charter schools have taken a lot of kids out of the public schools. So now you have this big, massive public schools that, you know, really was built to hold 2,000 kids. Now it's only 500 kids. And so now those kids are going to these charter schools. Charter schools are letting them out at 12 o'clock in the daytime.
Really?
The public schools,
that's interesting.
the public schools are kicking the bad kids out with a low GPA because they need to have a high GPA.
And they're going to those charter schools.
They're going to those charter schools.
That are kicking them out.
And they're out at 12 o'clock. Mom and daddy is now at work.
Of course.
And they end up at the friend's house doing whatever, because those are actually bad. They consider them as bad kids, but they should red flag those kids. So if you look, and so I started looking at it on a national.
Wow, that's something.
Yeah, on a national level, and say, when is killers are happening? On a national level, because of standardized testing, that's happening in every, a lot of cities, inner cities in America.
See, that's what I'm talking about. Which we always have to do the math, and first of all, ask why, what happened, and then take it back. Well, you know, one of the things about, running for president, one of my motivations and reasons I'm running is for all of the children that we're talking about, and in particular, focusing on public education. Because, you know, back to the point of us being bused.
Mhm.
And so one of the things, for example, is I will have a teacher, a nurse and a social worker in every school,
Okay.
right? So
Should the teacher have a gun?
no,
Okay.
no, I want to give teachers raises, not guns. What they do in their private home, that's their business.
Right.
But
They
not,
passed legislation in Florida that
no,
teachers can
no,
carry guns.
no. I do
Right.
not want our children walking into a school and it being militarized and like it's a penitentiary.
Mhm.
No,
Mhm.
no,
Good.
no. But here's the thing. If you look at history, Brown versus Board of Education, which with Thurgood Marshall and all those guys desegregated America's public schools in 1954.
Mhm.
And to your point about the trends in public education, what also started to happen is then all these Black children started going to these schools. And a lot of the white families with resources pull their kids out of those schools.
Mhm. Mhm.
And so you can also track what started to happen, which is then more private schools started to be built. And you started to see the resources leave public education.
Mhm.
And so then you talk about the effects that you're talking about as another extension of that trend.
Mhm.
And so you walk into public schools in America today and you see exactly what you're talking about too.
Right.
Which is it is almost, some say, worse in terms of the segregation
Mhm.
that has now happened as a result of not necessarily laws that are about race, but certainly rules that are about economic status.
Mhm. I think everything is all connected to education, because if you don't, if kids are not able to get the proper education in, it's a tough road coming from that.
I mean, I've started so many mentor programs over the years, and I did one in Bayview Hunters Point, which in San Francisco at the time had an annual household income of $15,000. And I'll never forget. And I went to the president at Howard and I said, please send me boxes of yearbooks. Because I realized that when I would talk to the kids about what it meant to go to Howard, and I would say this huge yard, and I'd say all these kids, and I'd describe it, that I'd see blank faces in the kids. They couldn't picture it.
Right.
Uncle, they could not picture it.
Wow.
They couldn't picture it. If you were describing that prison yard,
They can picture that.
they saw that.
Yeah.
And so I got the yearbooks. I got boxes of them so that they could turn the pages and see their faces in the members of the debate team.
Exactly.
And see their faces in the members of the sororities and fraternities.
Mhm.
Like literally so they could see it.
Yeah. I do that. I
Right?
do that every year.
Right?
I take kids from the inner city that play football, and what we'll do is we'll take them on a college tour
Right.
around the country.
Because there's nothing in society that is showing them that if they have not seen it.
Yeah, if they're not
That's
seeing
the
it.
crime of it all.
That's it. That's right. That's right.
There's literally not, if they're turning on the TV, there is nothing that will tell them that.
Right. And
If they're like literally nobody, in terms of the system,
Mhm.
whatever that system might be, is telling our children, this is who you are.
Mhm. No question about it. So what's your take on mental health?
A lot. I've actually worked on it for years. Here's the thing. We have generationally babies who are born into trauma. It is not physiological. It's not genetic. It's environmental.
Wow.
Because whether it be violence in the home, violence in the community.
Office on this iconic photo.
Madam Vice President, the photograph.
I have served with President Biden for almost 4 years now, and I'll tell you, it's one of the greatest honors of my career, truly. He cares so deeply about the American people. He is so smart and loyal to the American people. And I have spent hours upon hours with him, be it in the Oval Office or the Situation Room. He has the intelligence, the commitment, and the judgment and disposition that I think the American people rightly deserve in their president. By contrast, the former president has none of that. And so, one, I am so proud to have served as vice president to Joe Biden. And two, I am so proud to be running with Tim Walz for president of the United States and to bring America what I believe the American people deserve, which is a new way forward, and turn the page on the last decade of what I believe has been contrary to where the spirit of our country really lies.
But the last decade, of course, the last 3.5 years has been part of your administration.
I'm talking about an era that started about a decade ago, where there is some suggestion, warped, I believe it to be, that the measure of the strength of a leader is based on who you beat down, instead of where I believe most Americans are, which is to believe that the true measure of the strength of a leader is based on who you lift up. That's what's at stake as much as any other detail that we could discuss in this election.
Because we haven't had a chance to talk, I'm just curious, staying on President Biden, when he called you and said he was pulling out of the race, what was that like? And did he offer to endorse you right away, or did you ask for it?
It was a Sunday, so here, I'll give you a little too much information.
Go for it. There's no such thing, Madam Vice
Let's
President.
go.
My family was staying with us, and including my baby nieces. And we had just had pancakes and, Auntie, can I have more bacon? Yes, I'll make you more bacon. And then we were sitting down to do a puzzle. And the phone rang, and it was Joe Biden. And he told me what he had decided to do. And I asked him, "Are you sure?" And he said, "Yes." And that's how I learned about it.
And what about the endorsement? Did you ask for it?
And he was very clear that he was going to support me.
So when he called to tell you, he said, "I'm pulling out of the race and I'm going to support you."
Well, my first thought was not about me, to be honest with you. My first thought was about him, to be honest.
Wow.
I think history is going to show a number of things about Joe Biden's presidency. I think history is going to show that in so many ways it was transformative, be it on what we have accomplished around finally investing in America's infrastructure, investing in new economies, in new industries, what we have done to bring our allies back together and have confidence in who we are as America and grow that alliance, what we have done to stand true to our principles, including the one of the most important international rules and norms, which is the importance of sovereignty and territorial integrity. And I think history is going to show not only has Joe Biden led an administration that has achieved those extraordinary successes,
Yes.
but the character of the man
Yes.
is one that he has been in his life and career,
Better than
including
Donald
as a
Trump's
president,
character.
quite selfless and puts the American people first.
A passionate defense of the man who chose her to be his running mate 4 years ago. 4 years later, Harris made a choice of her own. And with Governor Walz's rise to national prominence, a star was born at the convention, Gus Walz. We'll hear about that moment between father and son and the woman who could make history in the Oval Office on this iconic
point. The way that I've always talked about it, like post-traumatic stress disorder is what it is, right? So like an oversimplified way of thinking post-traumatic stress disorder is like
kids that are in my program. If there's somebody gets shot or murdered in the neighborhood in Liberty City, 9 times out of 10, they're one of my kids' little brother. And so there's no programming anything for those children because they're living, just like you say, they're living in this traumatized household, or they just saw their brother get murdered.
They've been to more
in the front
funerals
yard.
of somebody who was under the age of 25 when they died.
Exactly. Every Saturday it's a new funeral. It's like going to the
They have
nightclub.
a whole protocol for it.
Yeah.
Like literally somebody dies,
t-shirt on
everybody
the
gets
shirt.
ready. They have like an assembly line of things that happen. I know.
Yeah, t-shirt or it's like a proud thing. But then just like to your point, those people are somewhat traumatized, but they became immune to it. But technically, you're traumatized.
So to your point, the way that I've always talked about it, like post-traumatic stress disorder is what it is, right? So like an oversimplified way of thinking post-traumatic stress disorder is like, so imagine there's a busy street and you're about to cross the street and a Mack truck comes barreling down.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's part of our species survival thing, that you'll produce something without even thinking about it that will cause you to jump back. If every day you're walking across that street and at some time that truck comes down, at some point, because you're overproducing this thing,
Mm-hmm.
at some point you're going to look at that truck and you're going to keep walking.
Yeah, you are. No question
You're going to
about
keep
it.
walking.
No question about it.
Because that's part of what happens with post-traumatic stress disorder, that your body, because your body has a natural instinct, it's part of this, again, the survival of the species, to protect yourself. But at some point you overstimulate this thing and it just makes you numb.
Yes, no question about it.
Right?
Yep.
You know, what we want for our children is that, not that when they went to sleep at night, they were hearing gunfire. You know, talk about a people who have suffered so much pain as a result of injustice.
The debate is Kamala the cop.
I know.
Kamala the cop. She's going to put people in jail.
I know.
Because that's what she did in California.
When I started, it was during the height of the crack epidemic. And then there was also a lot of gang activity in Los Angeles and some other places. So the California legislature started passing these really draconian, tough gang enhancement laws. And which means that whatever the underlying offense was, if somebody was a member of a gang, the sentence would be even higher.
Oh, okay.
So I'm sitting in my office one day, and I had just started a couple of years, and there were a group of people outside of my office talking about how they were going to prove a gang case. And because they were trying to figure out with this new law how to do that. And they said, well, they live in this neighborhood, dressed this way, listening to this music.
Oh.
So I stepped out of my office and I said, hey guys, hey Kamala, they said, how you doing? I said, great. I said, you know, that neighborhood, well, I got people who live in that neighborhood.
Wow.
That style of dress, well, you know, my family members dress that way. And
Wow.
and that music that you're talking about, and I'm going to date myself, Uncle Luke. I said, that music you're talking about, I got a tape of that music in my car right now.
Wow.
And indeed, it was too short.
Wow. So hey, they had to profile you right then.
Well, this is the point, though, isn't it? This
Yep.
is the point. This is the point.
Minnesota Nice is a source of pride. But behind all of that folksy humor and flannel, Tim Walz is far from just being Mr. Nice Guy when it comes to needling Donald Trump. Governor, you obviously have spoken to voters all over your state for years.
Yeah.
What are you learning in a place like Georgia?
We're seeing explosion in small business growth. The one thing is workforce and childcare, because workers have to have childcare.
Campaigning with Tim Walz,
Don't do it.
finding his role in this historic campaign.
Would you be my running mate and let's get this thing on the road?
I would be honored, Madam Vice President.
After bursting onto the national stage with this word.
These guys are just weird.
Known as a folksy father of two from rural America, now a running mate who is not holding back.
Listen to
You
the
said
guy.
the
He's
weird
talking
word.
about Hannibal Lecter and shocking sharks and just whatever crazy thing pops into his mind.
And finding his own rhythm with his new boss.
What'd you order? Brisket and greens and mac and cheese.
What about you?
I had the brisket and coleslaw on this.
And what about the spice situation, the Tabasco? What's happening with that?
I'm gonna let him speak for himself.
The Vice President's growing peppers at her residence, so she's trying to bring me along on this. You know, Minnesotans.
It's okay.
I'm getting there.
It's all good. You just do you.
I just have to ask you both about two standout moments, aside, of course, from the addresses that you both gave, but standout moments that were perhaps unexpected during the convention. You mentioned one of them, Governor. A moment that you shared, that the world shared with your son, Gus. You were speaking, the camera caught him, so incredibly proud of you, so emotional, saying, "That's my dad."
Yeah, I don't know as a father I could have ever imagined that. grateful for so many reasons to be on this ticket, but that moment, to understand what was really important, to have my son feel a sense of pride in me, that I was trying to do the right thing. And it was, you try and protect your kids, it brings notoriety and things, but it was just such a visceral, emotional moment that I'm grateful I got to experience it, and I'm so proud of him. I'm proud of him. I'm proud of Hope. I'm proud of Gwen. She's a wonderful mother, and these are great kids. And I think the one thing is, talking about the era we're in, is our politics can be better. It can be different. We can show some of these things, and we can have families involved in this. And I hope that I hope people felt that out there, and I hope they hug their kids a little tighter, because you just never know, and life can be kind of hard.
And last question, Madam Vice President, the photograph that has gone viral. You were speaking, one of your grandnieces that you were just talking about was watching you accept the nomination. You didn't explicitly talk about gender or race in your speech, but it obviously means a lot to a lot of people, and that viral picture really says it. What does it mean to you?
I am running because I believe that I am the best person to do this job at this moment, for all Americans, regardless of race and gender. But I did see that photograph, and I was deeply touched by it. And you're right, it's the back of her head, her two little braids, and then I'm in the front of the photograph, obviously speaking. And it's very humbling. It's very humbling in many ways.
Did she talk to you about it afterwards?
Oh, she had a lot to talk about. She had a lot. She listened to everything, and she listens to everything.
Give you your hot takes?
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Madam Vice President, Governor Walz, thank you so much for your time. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you, Dana. Thank you.
This was Vice President Harris's first real unscripted setting where voters could see and hear her explain some of.
Wow. So I guess that's pretty much it, guys. I thought it was going to go until the top of the hour there. I guess they're going to do some analysis here. Hey, thanks so much.
In America, we don't realize that we're really actually profiling people at the same time.
Right.
But,
and that people in power, their perception of things creates the reality for the other people. Right? The way that they perceive the people in power, the folks that we're talking about, will have an impact on the way they treat those communities.
No,
right?
No question about it.
And so if you don't see that, what is there right now is that you're looking at a high school honors student. If you don't see that, if you don't see Tamir Rice, if you don't see Tatiana, for being an auntie in her own home, it can have lethal consequences.
Why do we dismiss the fact that the job is a prosecutor and is designed to put people in jail? But at the same time, what are we doing to bring people back into civilization, with the programs that we have?
Because there will be prosecutors.
Right.
And so do you want somebody who's making those decisions, who sees your son for the high school honor student he is? Do you want somebody who sees that young woman and knows her potential? Do you want somebody who understands that this is not that the war on drugs was a failure and criminalized a public health issue? Or do you want somebody who doesn't see that? I mean, I can't tell you how many mothers of homicide victims that I have hugged who came to me and said, I only want to talk to Kamala. And they would come to my office and they would cry. I'd have them come to sit on my couch, and they would cry and they'd say, nobody is taking the death of my son seriously. They think of him as a statistic. Had he died maybe by a car accident or cancer, maybe somebody would recognize and honor my grief. But nobody is taking it seriously. They're not investigating it. They're not looking for it. And I want justice for my son. And they would know that they could come to me, and I would see them as a grieving mother and not the mother of a statistic.
Right.
I created one of the first programs in the country in the country. I was elected DA in 2003,
Mm-hmm.
which was long before I think the country started to understand that we need to actually reform the system, right, in the way that they do now. Back when I created Back on Track, which was a program about getting jobs and counseling to people who had been arrested for drugs, like literally they would have been felons for life. And I said, nope, we're going to dismiss the charges against them. And the whole program is about jobs. It was about seeing these young men as fathers and I would say, I don't care if they're not, I mean, I care, but even if they're not paying child support, doesn't mean they don't love their children. And so we're going to focus on that. We're going to focus on what we need to do around housing. We even had a whole program about it where I had trained them on landlord tenant law and consumer rights so they know their rights, right? When I created this program, people said to me, what are you doing? You're supposed to be locking people up, not letting them out. People said to me, why are you giving them jobs? Other people want jobs who haven't committed a crime. This mass incarceration system has to be ended. And that's why, you know, as president, for me, it's about ending mass incarceration. It's about holding law enforcement accountable, both prosecutors, police and prosecutors, because people talk about police, but also prosecutors.
Right.
And it's about what we need to do to take the profit out of the prison system with these for-profit prisons.
Yeah.
And the profit out of the whole system around bail and money bail, which means that people are sitting in jail every day simply because they don't have enough money to get out. But people who have money for the same offense are walking around free. That's economic justice as well, criminal justice, right?
Yes, no doubt about it.
So these are the things. But I know the system, and I know that as president, look, let's look at who's on that stage. Before they were running for president, who was working on reforming the system for decades besides me?
Yeah.
You know, you've got
And
folks
they
like
had opportunity.
they had opportunities.
They had opportunities to do different things.
But very few of them, before they ran for president, have a lifetime of experience and dedicating a career to reforming the system. And so, you know, it's real easy for people to, you know, my opponents are going to try and do that because, look, they're also concerned about, like, is she going to get the black vote? We need to try and not make that easy.
Yeah.
We have to believe
one door at a time.
And we have to also believe that these things are possible and not wait for people to give us permission to believe it's possible.
When you're talking about it being tricky, it is tricky because listen, I'm gonna go back. Biden.
All right. Wasn't too bad of an interview. Interview was. Am I live? Am I on? Oh, here we go. The interview was a little. It was short. Wasn't bad. I think she should have did it alone, but you know, it's no big deal. Tim was there. He did, you know, answer some questions, and you know, this is I guess their second kind of sit down, but their first sit down with a journalist. And you know, maybe 20, 30 minute conversation. I think they need to step it up just a touch. So we'll see what the next one looks like. I'm hoping that they do a blitz and maybe do, you know, 15 or 20 interviews over the next, you know, couple of weeks, and just kind of be all over the place and just talk and communicate, and a lot of one-on-ones, lots of questions, just to hear them get more depth, you know, reiterate some more of this stuff and just make it sound a little bit stronger, punch it up a little bit. Her not talking about race or them questioning her gender. Questioning her race. I guess she moved on from it. I mean, it's probably going to come up. We'll see. I mean, I don't think you should run from it. I mean, you have Barack Obama as your sort of your blueprint. You want to embrace your race. In my mind, you want to deal with it. You don't want to play. You really want to play with that too much. You know, she made the statement that she made about what she is. She's got to make sure she's on there. But everything else was fine. I'm not going to beat the Democrats up too much with all the gun stuff and some other things. And I'm like, oh, here we go. But anyway, I'm gonna see can I find some responses. I think I got something from Fox News that has a response on um, the interview. Let's see what we got. What we got here. What we got here. Let's see what they talking about. Let me see. Got my boy on here going through a little bit of Fox business. Byron Donalds.
Tidbit of Kamala Harris that we just saw.
This is the first time I've seen the clip.
That's right, a tidbit.
Now I'm reading, trying to answer Dana Bash's question. Number two, what does she even mean by deadlines based in time? The Inflation Reduction Act was the Green New Deal's little sister. That's how they wrote it. It actually made inflation worse. She was the tie-breaking vote. Couple that with the American Rescue Plan, of which she was a tie-breaking vote in the United States Senate, which created this inflation to begin with. She didn't talk about that. Then she's saying that her values haven't changed, but she's flip-flopping on every major policy she supported in 2019 and as vice president to Joe Biden. But miraculously, it's now different. But I'd go back to just the body language. I didn't see the lively starlet Kamala Harris from the DNC convention. I saw somebody that didn't look comfortable in their own skin answering questions from Dana Bash, who's about as friendly as a reporter as you're going to get. That's not the mantle of leadership that I saw in that clip. I'm interested to see what else is there.
You know, this is as clear as mud, Congressman, because she talks about her values haven't changed. And you mentioned she's changed all these policies. It leaves us all confused. And I don't know, we haven't seen the whole interview yet. I don't know that Dana Bash actually pushes her on that issue. Like, you know, why have you changed if your values haven't changed? But do you think this works with the American people? Will they be duped by this very unclear language and very clear plan for the country?
Oh, look, I hope not. Look, I think with Kamala Harris, this campaign is set up to try to be above politics. That's why they're not talking to reporters. That's why they're really not engaging with anybody. But the support that they've been able to amass, it's very broad,
real,
but it's thin because there's no substance to it. It's about feelings. It's about whether you like Donald Trump or not. It's about thinking that you can just move forward in this abstract way without the concrete ideas you need to propel our nation forward. So I believe these conversations, this interview, and for one, the debate, I guess, is in about 15 days or so. That can be the things that breaks the glass, if you will, on this campaign. And that's why she looks very uncomfortable. The thing that sat most with me watching that clip, she's looking down. She's not looking at the interviewer. If you're looking down, you're not confident in what you're saying, or you're trying to read the script off the desk. And then number two, everything is still vague. No details, no substance. The American people deserve to hear a lot more than that.
Yeah, the Inflation Reduction Act, $1 trillion in green pork and handouts to their cronies in the climate movement. And $300 billion of it was EV subsidies, which is like setting fire to money. It's just, that's what the Inflation Reduction Act is. But economy, inflation, number one, and immigration is number two. And we want to move on to this, something else you won't hear anything about tonight. The Biden-Harris migrant crisis, illegal migrant crisis, which over the past year alone has cost taxpayers $150 billion. The state of Florida, your state, Congressman, dishing out more than $8 billion and nearly $3 billion heading out in Massachusetts, where Republicans are demanding an itemized breakdown of how this money was spent, Congressman. It is, and it's almost incalculable how much money is being spent.
Look, this is a true disaster for the country because this is all really coming out of the welfare state in America, the social welfare spending. It's all eking out of there. We need an accounting for every state in the country, not just Massachusetts. That has to come from the Biden-Harris administration. But the way this administration operates, they don't give details. They do not respond to anything. They ignore the crises that they start. So you now have $150 billion being spent on illegal immigrants in our country. We're close to $200 billion that has been sent for basically protecting the borders of Ukraine, while our southern border continues to be wide open. And who was in charge? Kamala Harris. Is she going to answer for what she did and why she did it? What were her conversations with Joe Biden? What were the remedies they were planning on doing? She has not talked about any of that. People start voting in North Carolina and Pennsylvania in about 3 weeks. The American people need answers to this because we don't have another $200 billion for illegal aliens in the United States. We don't have that money. It's only going to destroy the purchasing power for every man, woman, and child, whether you're black, whether you're white, whether you're middle income, whether you're poor in the United States of America. You're going to suffer so we can fund the wide open borders of Kamala Harris.
I just wish there was honesty coming from this campaign. I mean, again, we're supposed to have a government buy-in for the people. They always talk about democracy. Well, if you're proud of your democracy and what you're doing with illegals and how much money you're spending, tell us. Be honest. This is how much we're going to spend on people who are not American.
Trump at 47. There's a national poll within the poll's margin of error, meaning no clear leader. New polling from the Wall Street Journal shows the same nationally, a slight Harris lead, but within the margin of error. As for the former president, he's appearing at a town hall tonight in Wisconsin. Earlier today in Michigan, he had this to say about his opponent.
I saw her make a speech. It was so bad. And after they get off, this was one of the greatest performances we've ever seen in our country. With me, I make a speech. I speak for 2 hours. Everybody loves it. I got thousands of people, by the way, outside trying to get in. They never said Trump's a great speaker. I don't even want that, but I must be a great speaker, right? I must. We got thousands of people.
A lot ahead as we roll into tonight's exclusive interview with Vice President Harris and Tim Walz. First, the one asking the question, CNN chief political correspondent Dana Bash. Dana, I'm very curious to see how this went. One of the major points of criticism against the vice president is how she has changed some of her past policy positions. What did she have to say?
Well, Anderson, I asked her about some of those key policy positions, those that really matter to voters, not just here in Georgia, but particularly voters in the must-win state for her of Pennsylvania, issues like fracking, the Green New Deal, and also her changes on immigration. She explained some of those changes, but even more broadly, I wanted to know what she thought voters should take from her evolution.
Generally speaking, how should voters look at some of the changes that you've made, that you've explained some of here in your policy? Is it because you have more experience now and you've learned more about the information? Is it because you were running for president in a Democratic primary? And should they feel comfortable and confident that what you're saying now is going to be your policy moving forward?
Dana, I think the most important and most significant aspect of my policy perspective and decisions is my values have not changed. You mentioned the Green New Deal. I have always believed, and I have worked on it, to set goals.
Of course, we talked about the issues confronting voters right now, most is explicitly the crisis of affordability. People are having challenges buying groceries, buying homes, renting housing. And so those are some of the issues that we talked about with regard to what she would do in the future and how that lines up with what she and President Biden have done for the past 3.5 years, among some of the other topics we talked about.
What did the vice president have to say about, this past month and, what it's been like, how she found out that President Biden was stepping aside? I don't know. Did she tell any details on that?
She did. She talked about the phone call that she got, Anderson, on July 21st, 2024. It was a Sunday. We all remember that moment, but it was especially memorable for her. And she gave us some information that I had not heard before about how that call went down, what President Biden said to her at that time. And that's a bit of a teaser. You can see what she said about it later on at 9. But I will tell you that she told me, she said, well, this could be TMI. And I said, there's no such thing as TMI. Give it to us.
All right.
So she did.
Dana, we'll look forward to it.
All right. We'll find some more things to try to react to. Oh, we got some commentary. Hold up. Give me a sec. Let me go back to this. Give me 1 second.
Commentators, Safar Griffin, Ashley Allison, and
All right, we're going to get a little bit of conversation.
David, do
from
you
the
think
so-called talking heads, experts.
Policy positions over positions? It seems like there's going to be more, but
yeah. Look, I think that is a reasonable answer, which is that whatever changes I've made have been within the parameters of my values. I don't know whether, first of all, I don't know how much voters are sitting around and thinking about this. They don't know
Come on now,
much
David.
about
Don't do
her,
that.
honestly.
Don't do that,
They're getting
Axelrod.
information about her all the time. This last month has been all about
Democrats
filling in
did not like
information
them.
about her,
Y'all didn't
particularly
like
about
some of
her
them answers.
experience
I know
and her
that.
values. And so I don't know how this may be a bigger issue to reporters and perhaps the other
That would be
campaign.
stunning. That's never.
Yes, yeah. But I mean,
David,
look,
in a way, isn't that why people want to know, right? If you're Kamala curious and you don't know because she hasn't necessarily been an executive and you want to say, well, what is different?
oh, for sure. Look, I think that she has filled in gaps that people do want to know about her life, about the other jobs that she's had, what she's done in those jobs, positions that she's taken when she was running the show. Look, I think that what's interesting about this is she's done a splendid job for the last month in doing all of that. But she's been hitting off of a tee, right? She's working off of a prompter. It's different than when you have live pitching and people come at you with questions and probe and poke. And so part of what's interesting is how she answers those questions. And part of it is she comfortable doing it? She seemed pretty comfortable there to me.
Or did you think it was damaging to wait so long? I mean, that it builds up expectations. More people are like, why, whether people are waiting with bated breath.
I can see why you're asking, because I think with the sort of infamous interview she had with NBC way back when,
That was with the Lester Holt at the start of her.
the stakes were high then as well, because there had been, again, a narrative building up. When is she going to talk? She hasn't been to the border. Let's talk about that. So it snowballs. And I guess we're kind of doing it again. But fundamentally, she is a different person. And I think we are, performance-wise, you can see a difference in how she is speaking and engaged. But has she been able to deliver information that we need to make a decision? I think the jury is still out on that.
It's also interesting, Maggie, Dana asking the question about, Trump's comments about her not being black. Clearly, she was ready for that and chose to just brush it aside, to not go down that rabbit hole.
Her campaign has made a very concerted effort to try not to get baited, and Trump has been trying very hard to debate her and debate her supporters on issues related to race, on issues related to gender, and her campaign and the vice president are not interested in doing that. Now, I don't know whether they will decide strategically to say more or engage more at some point. The debate might be a place where they do that. It might not be a place where they do that. Her convention speech, and she had a very successful convention, her speech really didn't get into the historic nature of her candidacy. Other people talked about that in their speeches. She did not. And, I think there's a variety of reasons why, but that was a very intentional answer that I think you will hear a lot of.
Can I just say one thing on this, which is, I thought that is absolutely the right thing to do. But there's another turn of the wheel, which is, if this is the way he wants to spend his time, that's his business. Mm-hmm. I'm talking about the problems that people are confronting in their lives. And I think that's what the American people want to hear. I think that would have further turned the screw on him.
Yeah, I mean, you can look at Kamala Harris and know the historical nature. We've never had a woman be president of the United States. So you don't actually need to say the thing. I agree with David. Rise above it. She is talking about policy. She's answering the questions about what she would do for this country. Donald Trump is doing this childish, demeaning behavior that he has done for most of his political career and even before. Let him do that. We'll talk about how we'll lead.
We're Tire Rack. We test tires to provide you with truth, transparency, and unbiased.
All right, we got a little bit of a reaction, not much of a reaction there. I think everyone is still probably trying to digest and process this interview because it is very fresh. And so I wonder what some of the talking heads are going to try to break down. I thought she had some slow moments, but I mean, overall, I think it was solid. It's a good come out, set expectations. So they did have her kind of pumped up pretty high. She's doing a sit-down interview, so I don't expect her to be like necessarily just shiny, obviously, but there's some work there. And they probably haven't sat down with anybody until now. So I think as they get to the second, third, fourth, and fifth interview, I think it'll pick back. It'll pick up a little bit more, get a little bit stronger. They'll see what they got to do better. They'll see some of the criticisms and sort of try to figure out how they want to go forward with it. What are they doing? Oh, y'all can't see this. My bad. Let me put that up. I'm just in there just running my mouth. Let's see. Share.
All right, Governor. All right, let's go. Cookout time. Cookout time. All right, this guy. Hi, everybody. How are you?
Oh, that's Roy Cooper. They must be in Carolina, right? Yeah, they in North Carolina. Yo, DC, you there, man?
I am here. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I hear you.
Okay.
I'm going to have Governor we did get. Yeah, you got that. Definitely a good thing. So this is my first visit to Cookout, but Governor Cooper says place to go. Shakes. Place to go today. So what do you got there, Governor? I got a mint chocolate chip. Excellent. What do you think?
Look, they're human. It's so funny, man. I love politics. I love the show, boy. It's just kind of funny. Yeah. And she got another packed out arena. Yeah, I watched this live, bro.
For Vice President Tim Walz to our IAFF family. Governor Walz.
Oh no, this isn't the one. This is his joint. He didn't get booed. Yeah, somebody got to post that at some point. Yeah, the crowds is crazy though. I ain't gonna hold you. What are they doing? This can't be today, is it? Arlington Cemetery should end Trump's political career. The Army denounced it. Pentagon confirmed it. Agreed. Reposted. I wonder, is this real? This look like some. I don't know about that. That would be viral at this point.
That just shows that he's willing to basically break every barrier to get into power and to stay into power. But also, I'm very concerned about what the term would actually look like.
We don't need to speculate what a second Trump term would look like because we already saw it play out. To this day, he still doubles down.
You can't trust these white women, DC. Can't trust them. Right? No, Trump's like, you can't trust these.
Absolutely not. Absolutely
Trump
not,
like,
bro.
damn, I put y'all on. Y'all talking crazy right now.
Absolutely not. You do that at your own. You do that at your own peril, man. I'll tell you that right now. You know, I didn't even get to catch the interview, man. So
I remember this
it's
was so
still
funny. Oh, you missed the interview? I was playing it live.
Yeah. I know. I didn't get to catch it. I didn't get to catch it
unable
live.
to do so because some people
You
out
remember
there
this?
in our nation don't have maps, and I believe that our education, like such as in South Africa and the Iraq, everywhere like such as, and I believe that they should, our education over here in the U.S. should help the U.S. or should help South Africa.
Is that Britney Spears
I remember
or
that like it
Ashley
was
Simpson?
I remember that actually was yesterday. No, that's the South Carolina. That was for Miss USA or Miss America or whatever. I don't know if you remember that. It went
Oh,
viral. It went one of the things that would in the past would have went insanely viral if you had social media back then.
what year was this?
But it was pretty big news. I don't remember the year. It was early though, years ago. But I remember when she gave a terrible answer. But it was they went crazy on her. All the comedians and stuff went crazy on her. Yeah, I was waiting to see if I don't get any good reactions from people them anything interesting from
How long was the interview? The interview was like an hour, right?
Opponent was not on the trail
nah,
today,
it was
though.
nah, it was like 20-30 minutes. It was quick.
Campaign was saying
Oh, short. Okay.
They ain't even they I think they even did commercials in between the two, which is crazy.
Oh, wow.
CNN trying to get that money.
battleground states.
Yeah, getting that bread, man.
Instead,
How you not gonna do an uninterrupted interview? You know this is gonna be your highest rated event probably since Gaza and Israel or
So they
Joe
taped
Biden
this.
stepping down. I don't even know. This is gonna be
So when
I know
did
this
they
is gonna be
tape
your
this?
highest rated.
Did they tape this
Probably
yesterday or this
yesterday.
morning?
Probably
Yeah,
yesterday,
that's
this
what
morning,
yeah,
probably.
this is crazy. Yeah. Okay, all right, I got you.
I thought it was
Because they were
okay.
in Georgia. They were in Georgia today, basically, right? They were in Georgia earlier.
Yeah, Tim is in I think North Carolina, and she's in Savannah.
Yeah, right.
And she in Savannah, and she got the stadium packed. Yeah, they're excited and they did you drop off? I don't know why you keep dropping off. It's crazy.
I worked at McDonald's. I did the French fries and I did the ice cream. I worked at McDonald's. I was a student when I was working at McDonald's. There was not a family relying on me to pay the rent, put food on the table, and keep the bills paid by the end of the month. But the reality of McDonald's is that a majority of the folks who are working there today are relying on that income to sustain a household and a family. And if we want to talk about these golden arches being a symbol of the best of America, well, the arches are falling short. And I worked at McDonald's. I did the French fries. And
And what were you saying?
No, I forgot, man. I forgot what I was actually saying. Actually, my bad.
No problem.
that whole thing. I worked at McDonald's. There seemed to be the attack seemed to be on her personal. I guess her, you know. Yeah, they're just gonna focus on just defaming her as a person, and not really deal with the politics side of it. And I guess they're trying to connect it through that and saying that she's this type of person, so her politics really are going to follow that same trajectory. Because I did see a little bit
Yeah,
of
I
that
mean they're
behind
shape. I
Donald.
mean the thing is that they're gonna shape because right now people are still kind of learning who they are and trying to connect with them. So they're gonna they obviously are already starting to shape the narrative on that's gonna be plugged into people's brains. And so this is sort of the first steps of that, I think. Because the people who know her and they already have their ideas, which is fine, which is a certain percentage of the population. But if they roll themselves out here, we'll start to get a good sense of how the whole of America, as they take their positions and opinions, that we're going to kind of get a better. I think we're going to get a better sense as the time goes forward. I think this is a good first step, though. But I think they do need to blitz and do a lot of interviews. I think. and just start rolling. I think she needs to go on rolling shows. Send Tim on rolling shows.
Yeah,
Go to
that's what
Breakfast
she
Club. Go to
needs to do. She need to
right.
go. She
Hit
need to go
Fox
to
News. Hit
black networks.
MSNBC. Go to Black Net. Go to a lot of Black Net. Go to everything Black. In
Yeah,
my opinion.
yeah. She needs to go. She needs to go to coverage. She needs to get that coverage on her
You want
side.
to bliss
If I
because
was her.
I think people who really don't know anything, they're under the impression that this person, both of them are really known. That's what you may think, even if she was vice president for 3 years, which doesn't really mean much, honestly. But this is her time right now to kind of shape,
Right.
because the attacks are going to be relentless on her womanhood, on her blackness, on her
Mm-hmm.
intelligence. I mean, like you said, I'm on the right, but I don't want to necessarily have to defend. I'm not trying to defend her in a sense, but it's kind of funny that you're going to be put in that position because she is a quote unquote minority. So you're gonna have to deal with all of the stereotypes. Because calling her stupid, you know what? I heard I was listening to a podcast today. 2 white men. One is a former CIA agent, and the other one is a very rich podcaster. He's a comedian. I won't say any names, but anyway, these are 2 white males, right? And the CIA guy, he says, well, she's a nitwit. He said, I shouldn't say that. And then the other guy says, well, she was a district attorney, yada yada. He said, do you know how many people that I know who have powerful positions in the federal government, in the CIA, or lawyers or attorneys who are dummies? And I was thinking to myself, man, that is what you call, I don't even like the word privilege or white privilege, but it just shows you that we living in 2 different planets. Now that's one thing that she should address, in my opinion, which is we don't get those. You're not talking about black people. The last time I checked, I could be wrong about that, but last time I checked, we got to be 100 times qualified. 100 times qualified for those jobs. 10 times qualified for a McDonald's job. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So to ignore the race factor with 2 white males saying, well, because me and you both know plenty of dummies that are CEOs of companies and who might be president of, in the past. I won't say any names. One of my people.
Right.
You understand what I'm saying, right? And he took the brunt of being considered a dummy. He took the brunt of it, right? But what's funny is that when do me and you know any black people ever, male or female or other for that matter, didn't have to be 10 times or 20 times or 30 times or 40 times or 50 times or 80 times vetted and then vetted again and then verified and checked and then re-verified, ran back through, you know what I'm saying?
It's a cycle. Yeah, it's a cycle that you got to go through. Right.
No, I'm just saying though is that I wish somebody with a large enough audience really bring that back. That's not really that's not really in the mix right now. The assumption is everybody who's of prominence, many of them could just be idiots or just lucky. And I say, no, you're only talking about white people. You're not talking about nobody else. There needs to be a contrast to that because it's not going to necessarily kill the dummy stuff because she's a female in America, which I didn't think we would still be. No, let me not say it that way. I just think it's interesting that old school language still can hit a little bit. Because it doesn't make any sense when you have women who are in powerful positions all over the place, but to still be able to run that women are stupid and that women on the right especially is letting that rock. I know you saw what your boy said day before yesterday, Jesse Waters. I know you seen that clip, right?
The one where he talked about he made a sexual innuendo towards Kamala.
Yeah.
That one. Yeah.
Well, about the whole the general's gonna run a train on her basically.
Yeah. And he said he didn't mean it that way. Yeah, that shit was wild. And then I mean, not just that, but I mean they doing all kinds of.
My thing is this though,
They
for
can't.
nobody to put their hands on you though, to me is just kind of crazy.
Just real quick though, like him, he's out there with that craziness, and then you have, I mean, President Trump himself, man, the stuff that he said, I'm like, wow, did he really do that on his True Social?
He said something I
He
missed.
said something about blowjobs.
Right?
Yeah, something about this is what blowjobs get you. I'm like, is that real? Like I just couldn't believe it, man.
Yeah,
Somebody
I
sent
think
that
it's.
to me, and
Yeah, I
it's like
think
from
it's
his
real.
True Social. Yeah,
Yeah.
like why would you go that far? Like that's crazy, bro. Like no discipline, man. Why would you do that? And not only that, he didn't just have he had Kamala up there. Damn it, they call her Kamala up there, and Hillary. And he
Yeah, I
said,
heard
"This
that.
is this how far two blowjobs can get you?" Something to that. It was bad, bro. I'm like, yo, come on, bro. Like,
Yeah, I heard
come
that.
on,
I
like
heard that
seriously.
went kind of viral.
Yeah, but it's still haven't went viral. Like it's gonna probably be a late. It's gonna probably hit when either one of them bring it up or like somebody brings it up in like a conversation or the debate or something to that next. You kind of put it on blast because I think a lot of people are not aware
But she needs to.
of
No,
his
no, no.
of
She
his of
needs to.
his true social account or
Nah,
whatever it's called.
nobody listens to that stuff. But she needs to. I would have. I mean, I don't know. Like I said, I'm not the expert. I would go into attack mode. If I'm her, I would go into attack mode.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
agree, man.
you need to get down. You need to get down and dirty. But you want to leverage your blackness and your womanhood and go on attack and let it play out the way it's gonna play out, good or bad. But don't just let this person just constantly denigrate you and you're not gonna punch back. Now what that looks like, how folks are gonna feel about it, and I'm gonna tell you something. America's a real. We're gonna keep saying this a lot, right? In the next 60 days, America's a real funny place. Now you take a risk. Now if you say, okay, I'm gonna be above the fray, right? I'm not gonna get muddy. You can try that, and we've seen candidates try that, and it can work in some cases depending on where the country is. On the flip side, you might need to, do some checking. And I'm gonna tell you, let me not get into Obama right now. I won't do that. But anyway, I would just I think you need to deal with it head on. You know what I'm saying? Matter
Yeah,
of
I agree.
fact, I would do something radical. I would do like a little press conference and really focus on. It's risky, right? But really focus on women and contrasting this, right? Like this is what we have to
Yeah,
go through. He look at these comments that he's making. I would make it a whole like a little show, just
I
to
would
start the. But
listen.
now I know the fear is this though. They don't want to see. Now Trump is very smart. Now we don't do we want America to go back to identity politics and let's get dirty with it and say we got the woman, the race going against the white. Because that's where I want to go. By the way, that's where I want to be. I want to live there. Them trying to sort of not really want to be in that, he gonna pull you in at some point. Because at some point you're gonna have to respond, even if it's not a race based, you're gonna have to respond to being denigrated by a man at some point, right? I'm assuming that. Now maybe not. You can kind of try to ignore it, I guess. What do you think?
Yeah, I think you're right. I think that they're going to be drawn into it either way. That I mean,
Oh, it's
the
happening.
campaign,
You can pretend that it's not happening, but it's happening.
yeah, the campaign people are very very hands on, and I want to say that maybe he's doing that strategically to kind of draw her out into a public fight, basically. And
He
to
is.
see, I told you, making this
Make this
DEI
about gender.
hire is
That's
make it
right.
about gender. You
Don't
know,
run
see how
from it.
sensitive
Lean
she
in.
is.
You see, lean
Yeah, you got to
into
lean.
lean
I've been on that
into it.
too. I've been on that since the very beginning, man. You do not
Don't run
let
from
these
that.
people dictate. Yeah, because what they're gonna do, they're gonna still
America
have you
is a racist
respond.
country. Let's not play
There you go.
games.
You got to lean into that shit, man.
Can't
You
do
got
it.
to be.
You know
You
why?
got to.
Obama learned it the hard way. If
You
you want
got
to
to,
keep
man.
trying to pretend that we're moving on somewhere, the fundamental guts of this country is racism, is slavery,
Right.
is mistreatment.
Right.
They
Right.
designed a system that's running on automatic right now, which is we are superior, period, point blank. And I don't mean superior over black people. I mean superior over all people.
Yes.
So you can have
Yes.
these goofies on the internet who want to front and pretend that they really are men and they suckers and don't understand that these folks will murder you, will kill you, will destroy your country. Gaddafi learned the hard way, right? That black man learned the hard way, didn't he?
Mm-hmm.
So the thing is that you can learn how you can take it how you want to take it, right? You can consider these people weak, soft, right? But Saddam had to learn, right? And we could just keep on going, to be honest with you, right? a lot of folks learned the hard way and ended up on the slabs on international
Hard pill,
television.
man. It's a very
Period.
hard pill
Point
to
blank.
swallow.
So that's this country. So you can't lie to it when it knows what it is. You have to deal with it, and win or lose. I think you want to be in that space on some level. Now they asked her about her niece, and they had a photo of her niece looking at her from a shot from the back of her niece looking at her up. It was a beautiful, beautiful picture. And she had an opportunity right there. She didn't take it. They asked her about her race. Had an opportunity there. She said, "Let's move on." And I said, "Okay." And she had 2 shots, and she don't want it. And you got it. It's delicate, right? Now, like I said, they got the internal numbers. They know what they want to do. So I'm not gonna fight you on. Once you decide how you want to roll with it, I'm gonna just roll with everything, right? If Trump's gonna run the way he's gonna run, you're gonna run. I'm not gonna beat you up on what you shouldn't be doing necessarily, right? But me and you both know how this country feels about certain things, right?
Yeah, I disagree with that. I disagree with her doing that though. Taking that positioning, by the way. I do wholeheartedly.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, and I don't know. Like I said, I don't know. I had to say it that way. I'm still kind of processed. I'm trying to go back to Hillary. Did she I felt like early on, did she spend any time attacking Trump on responding to him attacking her gender at all, or people just in the social media world and in politics attacking her gender? Do you remember?
I don't think she spent any time with it, bro. At all, really, to be honest with you.
Yeah,
I think she
remember.
answered it, but it was more of a talking point, more so than basically identifying it as something personal. See, that's what she had to do. Kamala has to get into the personal aspect of it, and without doing that, if she's going to continue to try to go above the fray, once you get into the arena, she's in the arena now. You're in the arena. The arena rules. It is what it is. You got to get bloody. You got to get down and dirty. You just don't do the interview then. That's how I look at it. Just don't do the interview. If you're going to hold back and try to not answer the questions forthrightly, and you're going to still kind of be a little bit evasive in your answers, it's going to do more harm than good. And I understand that her campaign probably is telling her they don't want it to be about race. Hell, she may even be saying that I don't want it to be about my gender. I don't want it to be about my race, because people have weaponized that against me. But see, this is the thing. It's always about that. There's no escaping that. This is like Thanos in the Avengers. I'm inevitable. That's how you got to look at that. This is how you look at that. This is this country. You don't
She
get
had to
around
understand.
that. You got to go through race. You got to go
Right, you gotta
through
go
it.
through.
You got to go
Facts.
through it.
Facts.
The fuck, you don't go around it. You go through it. That's why black people keep talking about her the way we do. Because
She got to give us a race.
yeah,
speech. She gotta do it.
you
She gotta
have
do it.
to go through it. You have to go through it.
That's
Nobody's
right.
exempt from it, and they're not gonna allow you. They're not gonna allow you to be exempt from it. Period.
That's facts.
So he's gonna keep attacking, keep going at you. You ain't this, you ain't
And the
that,
media's not
and
gonna
then
help.
and they're not gonna say Dana Bash is a white woman at the end of the day. You think Dana Bash is your fucking friend? Are you kidding me? That's what I'm saying. Like, you need to look at them as all opposition.
Shit.
Period.
Or Tim Walls.
Period.
And
Yeah,
his
I mean,
wife.
but
It don't
I mean,
matter.
at least to a degree,
Nope.
he's held up to. I'm saying, hold on. Listen what I'm saying. Listen what I'm saying. Listen what I'm saying. Listen what I'm saying.
I can't
Listen what I'm
do
saying.
it. No room.
I'm not
Him
obfuscating.
and Joe
Hold on.
Biden are white men. I don't care.
We don't hold on.
care.
Now see, hold on. Now we talk about how you gotta be if you are white, and you notice like I said, there is a so-called
Oh,
um,
you trust Tim Walz now?
way
Like
to
you trust
be.
Joe Biden?
No, I don't
Okay.
trust them. Hell no. No, 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 no,
You,
no,
you
no, no, no.
Democratic Negroes,
Absolutely
boy, let
not.
me tell you something. Y'all making
Absolutely
sure I
not.
will always be a Republican.
Absolutely not. Nah, man. Hey,
Boy,
man.
trusting white men is crazy right now.
You should
I'm gonna
remain
stick
where you're
right over here.
comfortable.
I'm gonna stick right
You
over
should
here where I'm
remain where you're
nice and
comfortable.
comfy and cozy.
Yeah. No problem at all.
Because
Just let me know whenever they get that transformative candidate, I may be right there with you. Until then, I mean, rest up. I'm good. But I mean, but what I'm saying about Tim Walz and Joe Biden, and Tim Walz hasn't went through the fire yet. Joe Biden went through the fire. Like I said, Joe Biden
I'm
took
just
the
messing
hits.
with you.
Okay, but I want this to be on record though. That's what it's got to be. You got to have skin in the game. You got to be like, okay, I'm gonna take the blame for that. I'm not gonna say it's the black preacher's fault, which he did not say. No, that's on me. We made a mistake. We miscalculated this thing. I'm not gonna bring it. I'm not gonna blame black people for the conditions that we put you in. Now, there's only been two that's been like this, and each of them were Dixiecrats. It was Lyndon B. Johnson. One of them said, "You know what? I'm out. I'm not gonna run again. I can't do it. I can't take the pressure. This is fucked up." And then there was Joe, and Joe got ran out the party. So you tell me the continuing line with this. You already know what it is. I mean, it is what it is, bro.
I know.
Those are the two. Those are the two.
Yeah, and that's the reality of it. I accept it.
Give me anybody. I don't care who it is. You can bring up Clinton. Bring me another white Democratic president that's within them two. That basically, and these are so-called racist. But the thing is that you knew they were.
They're definitely racist.
Yeah.
There
Hold
is
on.
no
You
doubt
knew
about
they
that. Ain't
were.
no so-called. It is
Yeah.
fact.
You knew they were though. That's the point. That's why you was able to guilt trip them and to get shit more done. You didn't have to hide behind the so-called democracy thing. Period. That's how you got to look at it. Absolutely.
Because all through American history, we've had to work with them. They've had people that they have done business with us. And on and on and on. So I mean, it is what it is. It's a hell of a relationship. I will tell you that much, boy. So you're right. I want you to see this part here and see what you think about it. I want you to see this and let me tell you what you think about this.
During the Biden-Harris administration, there were record numbers of illegal border crossings. Why did the Biden-Harris administration wait 3.5 years to implement sweeping asylum restrictions?
A bill was crafted, which we supported, which I support. And Donald Trump got word of this bill that would have contributed to securing our border. And because he believes that it would not have helped him politically, he told his folks in Congress, don't put it forward. He killed the bill.
Energy is a big one. When you were in Congress, you supported the Green New Deal. And in 2019, you said, quote, "There is no question I'm in favor of banning fracking." Fracking, as you know, is a pretty big issue, particularly in your must-win state of Pennsylvania.
Sure.
Do you still want to ban fracking?
No, as president, I will not ban fracking.
You said that you carried weapons in war, but you have never deployed actually in a war zone. A campaign official said that you misspoke. Did you?
Well, first of all, I'm incredibly proud. I've done 24 years of wearing the uniform of this country. Equally proud of my service in a public school classroom.
New way forward and turn the page on the last decade of what I believe has been contrary to where the spirit of our country really lies.
But the last decade, of course, the last 3.5 years has been part of your administration.
I'm talking about an era that started about a decade ago.
You have been vice president for 3.5 years.
Yeah.
The steps that you're talking about now, why haven't you done them already?
Well, first of all, we had to recover as an economy, and we have done that. I'm very proud of the work that we have done that has brought inflation down to less than 3%.
You were a very staunch defender of President Biden's capacity to serve another 4 years. Right after the debate, you insisted that President Biden is extraordinarily strong. Given where we are now, do you have any regrets about what you told the American people?
No, not at all. Not at all.
So that's pretty much a little bit of a synopsis of what they let's get that gives you a good view of what they talked about. Did I see this part?
Well,
Let me see something. Hold up.
So incredibly proud of you.
all right.
So emotional, saying
Did I
that's
see
my
this
dad.
part?
Yeah, I don't know as a father I could have ever imagined that. I'm grateful for so many reasons to be on this ticket, but that moment.
Man, I wish we just had normal candidates on the left, on the right side to really go at y'all, boy. I tell you. Oh, did I say that out loud? My bad. So what do you think about what they were saying? You there? If you're talking, you're on mute. That's all old stuff. I do not like X or Twitter, man. I don't get it. DC, are you there? You talking? Hold on, what you just said? Give me 5 minutes. Oh, okay. All right, that's cool. I'm gonna stop sharing this, and I'm going to play a little bit of this right here. This little spontaneous town hall from Trumpy.
State. I gave them Marinette. We gave them a very big, Tulsa had a ship contract, and as you know, gave Marinette yards, but we gave them a tremendous contract. They wanted it all over the country. I said, get it for Wisconsin, and it's a big one. They're doing a great job, I understand. So we got that, and we're gonna have a good time tonight. So let's go.
President, you talked about immigration. We actually have Amber here who's quite concerned about that, and she's got a question for you. Mr. President.
Hello.
Hello. Here's Amber from Cameron, Wisconsin. I have beautiful children, and I'm torn on who to support. My youngest daughter is here tonight. My oldest son is 18, and he just started trade school this week. Very proud of him. My concern is that illegal immigration is threatening opportunities for my children. I worry that it's taking away jobs from Americans. I'm wondering, what will you do about that?
At the NAACP in Charleston's Freedom Fund. And I was telling them that even though my grandmother would not have probably imagined or thought of that I would be on the stage with the next president of the United States, Kamala Harris, she wouldn't be surprised because she had limitless optimism. We found out that Barack Obama was our president. I was at the gas station across the street from CSU. And when I found out, I heard it over the radio, and I just cried in the car. Because, that whole idea of limitless optimism, it changed like what I thought of myself, what I could have done. Like 100%. Like heroes. I think surrounded.
Here we are, barbershop.
This is where we hang out at. We have all kind of conversations.
I know that. All the truth gets spoken about.
We talk about Kamala Harris in the barbershop all the time. All the questions come. Why is she black enough? Why she got to have a white husband? Is she Kamala the cop? These are all the conversations in the barbershop. It's the things we talk about right now. And so it's a great thing that you address all those things that we talk about as African American men. And like I said to you before, my son and my daughters should be afforded the same opportunities as everybody else. Why do we question who we are as people? You know, why are we questioning supporting this African-American woman who was raised in Oakland, went to a historical Black college, who lived a life of no different than what I lived? Why is it so difficult for people to just be on an automatic? Oh no, I'm supporting her because she lived the same life. I'm supporting her. Why is it a question? Why do you think it's a question? And do you find it difficult? Because you know who you are. You know the life you live and where you came from. You know, do you find it difficult that you have to prove
To question that when there's no need or reason to do that. But you know, I mean, I experienced this when I was campaigning right here, you know, in all over actually in 07 for Brock. The people have an ability to see what can be, even if they've never seen it. And we in particular, all of the fights that we've had for civil rights, for voting rights, I mean, all of that, so much of which were the leaders in the South, right here in South Carolina, in Georgia. I mean, we would not, none of us would be here having a serious conversation with a bunch of media about a Black woman running for president of the United States. If many generations, for many generations, including great-grandmother Mariah, hadn't had the ability to see what can be and what is possible, even if we've not seen it before. So I'm not hating anybody for the conversation. I don't like it, you know, but I understand it. The thing that has always been the reason for our progress is that optimism born out of faith and our preparedness to fight. And so that presents just a challenge for us as a campaign, which is to do the hard work of letting folks know. And I think there's the other part of it is that folks just, you know, look, November of 2016 was rough. That was hard on people. No human being likes to feel pain. They're trying to make an effort to say something is possible. But the strength of who we are and every achievement we have gained has been because we don't also. We know that when the stakes are high, we don't sit back and wait for somebody else to give us permission to believe in what's possible. Well, these are the challenges, and I'm up for it. And then you might think that breaking barriers means you start out on one side of the barrier and you just show up on the other side. So no, there's breaking involved. And when you break things, you get hurt. And when you break things, you might get cut and you might bleed, and it will be worth it.
There's something that I think that is specifically that happens with Black folks, whether it's politics or otherwise, where there's always a question of, will people be ready for it? Yeah. And there's this ethos that someone said this, and I thought it was really interesting. They said, if you would have asked me how I wanted to listen to my music 15 years ago at the gym, I wanted a CD player. That's what I wanted. But Apple was like, hey, here's an iPod. Yeah. You know, so our jobs as innovators and as creators shouldn't be give people what they're ready for, but show them what they need to be ready for. Mm-hmm. And I think that those conversations about are we ready for this is only uniquely specific towards us. Mm-hmm. And so my question would be, you know, I can't imagine how difficult it is to be Black and a woman running for something like this and have a legitimate shot. So my question would be for us in a room full of Black men, what can we do for the Black women in our lives? I know politics is partly, we ask the candidate what they can do for us, but what can we do for you? What can we do to help this process? Because a lot of times young people of color and young Black people, we just kind of put our hands up and don't think that we have a voice.
I mean, okay, we're in a barbershop, real talk. I think part of what we have to do as a generation is we have to move the conversation away from Black men and Black women are very different.
I agree.
Real talk. Real talk. Because there is that. There is that. And, you know, and there is so much of our struggle that is the same struggle. Right, and there is so much that is different, and we know that. So I give honor and respect to all that is and the brutal history behind that, right? So that my point is not to say forget or overlook or don't see the differences. But when we talk about moving forward, I think that we as leaders, there's more that we have the capacity to do to remind young men and women of the fact that they're in it together and they should stand with each other and for each other in a way that's about unity. And this is the point of your question, so unity. True unity is, some people talk about unity meaning, okay, let's all be under the same roof at the same time. But often in that situation, they'll say, and for the sake of that, you don't be too loud about your thing.
Yeah.
For the sake of unity. But real unity means that nobody's thing is marginalized or not talked about or not addressed. True unity is about true unity. There is the issue of gender and there's the issue of race. And and I think this is the point that I'm really trying to get at, not so artfully. We cannot compare the tragedies or the pain.
Yeah.
Them citizens and they want to give people talk.
Concerned about that, and she's got a question for you.
Mr.
Hello.
President, hello. My name is Amber, and I'm from Cameron, Wisconsin. I have 3 beautiful children, and I'm torn on who to support. My youngest daughter is here tonight. My oldest son is 18, and he just started trade school this week. Very proud of him. My concern is that illegal immigration is threatening opportunities for my children. I worry that it's taking away jobs from Americans. I'm wondering, what will you do about that?
All right, well, it's great. I think I'll stand up and, do you mind if I turn around? Thank you, Amber, very much. And you're right. I'll tell you, we have the people that I'm talking about. They're pouring in at levels never seen before. They're coming in by millions and millions, and a lot of them are taking the jobs for the Black population, the Hispanic population, and unions are going to be very badly affected because, and I was talking to some of the union heads who I actually do get along with, but they're very concerned about it because the jobs that are the people.
Yo, DC, you there? You back, man? I see you pop back up, but I don't know if you're back on the live.
People that are coming in are just taken, and it's going to start with the Black population. African Americans are losing their jobs, and I don't know if you heard the latest statistic, but the jobs that these people created, which is very little, every single job was taken, about 107% was taken by illegal immigrants. There's been no job creation from them. The jobs were filled by illegal immigrants. With all of that being said, I want to give you a very positive answer. We're going to win this election. We're going to turn this country around. We're going to become an unbelievable growth country. And your boy is going to have the greatest job. And you want to have a lot of choice with jobs. You want them to go up and they get up and it's hard to believe I have that the way I get treated. But I look forward to every day because we're going to make America great again. So I really do. I look forward to it.
Right.
But we're going to create a lot of jobs. We're going to create. Does he want to stay here? Or does he want to go to a different state or anything? Yeah, someplace in the Midwest. But this is a good place to stay, right? Wisconsin. So we'll be creating tremendous jobs for our country. And we're also turning away. We're going to be closing the border, really closing it. By the way, did you see? So Kamala was for defunding the police. She was for open borders. She was for everything that you're not against. I could go through 14 different. She's changed on every single one of them. In fact, I think we should see the man in the red hat. And the beautiful woman in the red hat says, "Make America great again." Perhaps we should give Kamala a "Make America Great Again" hat, right? But the problem is, that's not her belief. Her belief is open borders. Her belief is getting rid of Social Security. Her belief is doing all of these plans, like for health insurance, where you have one big government-run mess. And if you have private plans, a lot of the people in this room have private plans. They're incredible plans. They worked hard to get those plans, and that's what they want. But with her, she wants to have, it's really a communist type of government. And I just saw her, Tulsi, she was sitting behind a desk doing this interview. And I said, "Dana Bash, you could make yourself big tonight. All you have to do is be fair." I haven't seen the questions, but they gave out a sample. In fact, she's going to be on later on tonight with a taped. It was a tape. We're doing it live. Why are we doing it live and she's doing it taped? But
that's right. He's real.
But she was sitting behind that desk, this massive desk, and she didn't look like a leader to me, I'll be honest. I don't see her negotiating with President Xi of China. I don't see her with Kim Jong-un like we did with Kim Jong-un. So we're going to have to see what happens. I'll tell you what, November 5th is going to be the most important day in the history of this country. Will be.
DC, are you back?
Mr. President, there are a lot of people who want to feel hopeful about our future. I want to introduce you to Luke, who is one of those people.
Hi.
Hello, Mr. President.
Good-looking guy.
Yeah, I'm back.
My name is Luke Pulaski, and I'm a junior here at the University of Wisconsin La Crosse. I'll be voting for the first time in November, and I'm researching each candidate. I have two questions for you. First, as I've been living on my own and buying.
Do you think it's strange that he's trying to convince us to be anti-immigrants and to be nativists? Do you think that's strange? It's a strange approach. That they see something there.
Well, the whole thing is very peculiar.
Very interesting.
Yeah, it's very, very, very interesting. The whole, because like I said, like it seems like whoever does the grievance thing the most, they become invisible as far as the, I guess the backdrop, because the person that they're attacking is doing either they're avoiding responding or they are not as aggressive as the person that is attacking them, which makes it a back and forth where it's kind of like an ugly campaign to a degree.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that being that Kamala is trying to rise above it, it's not, for some people it doesn't work. But like I said, if she just speaks to if she just speaks directly to and this is just a personality thing. I think this got something to do with personality. If she just he attacked me as a woman, just say the things that are like very blatantly obvious, right? To get those people to kind of see themselves that it doesn't matter that I'm this black Indian woman running for office. This would be anybody. If it was like he would just attack my identity. If I was a white woman, it doesn't matter. If I was just a straight up Indian woman, it wouldn't matter. He would attack my gender and say that it's a weakness. Like when he said that I don't see her as a leader. I don't see her sitting in front of foreign dignitaries and being able to negotiate deals and stuff like that. There are a lot of people like that. There are a lot of people that believe that, right? But that's attached to an old belief or an old standard. You can attack that way. She can attack doing that by showing his how can I say this? Showing his misogyny to a degree. Basically kind of like exposing it and making it more of a broad stroke where it's not about me. This is about any woman that would ever run for office. He would attack the same kind of way. Or he'll find a way to kind of defang and say that this is the reason why I'm not qualified to a degree.
Well, he did say about Hillary though that she's very intelligent, she's very formidable, He did that to offset your argument, by the way, because that's not what he was saying when she was running, by the way.
That's what I'm about to say. Like, but that's why you juxtapose what he was saying during the time that he ran. I mean, clearly, it doesn't benefit for him not to make that argument. That is a smart thing to do. You do say that to try to cover it, but you expose him at the pivot point by saying this has been his track record. This is what he does. This is the reason why he say grab him by the this, or you go into
I don't know,
the
man.
prosecution kind of role.
It's still shocking that it's still shocking that this country can tolerate that, boy.
I'm not really shocked by it, to be honest with you. I'm not,
Yo, his wife is
because
naked on the his wife is naked on the internet.
I know,
Three-time divorce,
I know.
hiring porn stars. It doesn't make any sense. It makes sense, obviously, on one level, but at the same time, it's been how many years now? My mind still don't. And I'm just talking about politics. I honestly don't understand it because it doesn't exist nowhere else. Nobody else has done that, has been able to duplicate as far as that we know of, even on a local level. Who could survive it on a local level?
But the argument would be that they don't care about that. They would say it doesn't matter. I just want to have better policies. I
But what
just
are
want
they
to have better
asking? But
finances.
what are they asking for? He literally just said that. What did he just say? He said that illegal immigrants are stealing black people and Latino people jobs.
Yeah, I wish he broke that down to some real numbers to show the correlation of what he means by that. Because I'm really curious on what they would focus on to kind of show us a
Well,
pivot
the
for
last
that.
time I checked,
Why that would be the deal?
us and Mexicans are lazy. I don't know what he's talking about. It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I want I want
It's
I
like,
want to
what
see
campaign
exactly
are
what the
you
numbers
running
are.
from a right? But from a Republican or from a racial perspective, what campaign are you trying to run? It doesn't make any sense. If we're shifty and lazy and criminals, then how is someone taking our jobs? I don't understand. I mean, are we respectable now? Very interesting. That's all.
Buy my own gas and groceries, I have noticed that everything has become more expensive. For me personally, I try to eat healthy and stay
Oh, I want you to respond to that clip that Kamala them had.
clean. A pound of meat has gone from $4 to almost $7. I also
Is that recently? She was with those black men.
Oh no, no, that's when she was running for president in 2020. They're just starting to post stuff on they're just starting to post and repost some of the stuff, which is very smart.
buy a home someday.
But no, not respond to that. I want you to respond to the interview. They showed the little synopsis on X. Did you watch it? You there? Yo, or did she drop out again?
But that seems just impossible now. What's your plan to make life more affordable and bring down inflation for someone like me?
Very good. Thank you. Good. It's probably the question I get most. You know, they say you're going to vote with your stomach. I don't know if you've heard it, but it's a little bit true. And groceries,
Is
food
that
is going
true?
up at levels that nobody's ever seen before. We've never seen anything like it 50, 60, 70%. You take a look at bacon and some of these products, and some people don't eat bacon anymore. And we are going to get the energy prices down. When we get energy down, you know, this was caused by their horrible energy wind. They want wind all over the place. But when it doesn't blow, we have a little problem. This was caused by energy. This was really caused by energy and also their unbelievable spending. They're spending us out of wealth, actually. They're taking our wealth away. but it was caused by energy. And what they've done is they started cutting way back. We were in third place. When I left, we were by far in first place, beating Russia, beating Saudi Arabia. And we were going to dominate to a level that we've never seen before. And then we had a bad election. I'll be very nice. I'm supposed to be nice when I talk about the election, because everybody's afraid to talk about, oh, please, sir, don't talk about the election, please. You know, if you can't talk about a bad election, you really don't have a democracy if you think about it, right? But what they did, Tulsi, is they took back the oil production.
You see how he lacks discipline though?
The inflation.
How he can't help himself to still bring up the election. He
I
just
know.
can't help it, man. You
Yep.
know, it's just you can talk about whatever you want to talk about, but don't be mad about the consequences. That's all. You can say whatever you want to say, President Trump. Nobody's telling you can't. But there are consequences. You know, it's not expedient for you to do that. You know, it's just the way that he moved in and out of the privilege thing. It's just weird. And you got one candidate that's too cautious. You got another one that just throws it to the wind and don't care. It's just weird how that juxtapose. You know, neither one of them are really effective at doing it because neither one of them are truly really, I guess, in a sense, finding that necessary balance of how to control different things and then how to kind of like still remain authentic, because there is a balance to that. There's a balance. It's not always saying what you think all the time. That's not presidential. That's not what presidents supposed to do. That's not what leaders of states are supposed to do. Governors, mayors, any of that. You know what I'm saying? You say what's needed at the time, and you try to be as authentic as possible when you say it. You know, you don't have to bring up extra stuff and grievances against people, talking about different things and stuff like that. You're dealing with multiple different systems and stuff like that. You know, deal with that part. You know, that's the presidency. Whether you're a president, mayor, governor, when you're dealing with large populations, large groups of people, you don't have time to deal with pettiness of individual people that may have something against you. And that's, you know, but then again, you can't ignore when people are trying to attack your character, which affects you as being looked upon as a leader of the group. So there are both negatives on both sides of it. You see what I'm saying? So that's how it goes.
Yeah, I agree. No, what I was asking was, did you see the little clip that they did that I had showed you earlier with Walls and Harris answering some of the questions?
I didn't remember seeing them. I think I saw a little bit of it, but I think it was more so
I'm gonna play it
them.
right here.
Why did the Biden Harris
No, I did see that. I did see that. I
implement
You
saw
saw
it.
it?
Yeah, I saw
A
it.
bill was crafted,
So did you have a response
which
to that or
we
no?
supported, which I supported. And Donald Trump got word of this bill that would have
Not this
contributed
part,
to
but the next
securing
part.
our border. And because he believes that it would not have helped him politically, he told his folks in Congress, don't put it forward. He killed the bill.
Energy is a big one. When you were in Congress, you supported the Green New Deal. And in 2019, you said, quote, there is no question I'm in favor of banning fracking. Fracking, as you know, is a pretty big issue, particularly in your must-win state of Pennsylvania.
Sure.
Do you still want to ban fracking?
No, as president, I will not ban fracking.
You said that you carried weapons in war, but you have
Is that
never
the one you were
deployed
talking
actually
about, or
in
the
a
fracking,
war
or
zone. A campaign of
the
now? See,
fracking.
that's that's the exact same thing that happened to Biden, and it just in a little bit of the same way. So it's the same thing, especially dealing with Pennsylvania and stuff like that. And he got caught up into that same kind of, you know, conundrum, because clearly they want to move over to new renewable energies, like different stuff technology wise, you know. And you're trying, that's what I'm saying, you're trying to find that necessary balance, because you don't want to totally disenfranchise those people, that are basically
Right.
still working in those industries, right? As
Right.
far as taking care of their families and things of that nature, because that's what they're going to hammer you on. But it's also imperative that the future is coming too. The future, more efficient type of cars and things of that nature. We need to move on from the dependency of oil, you know. So that's the thing. It's like and I think when he did a speech about it, and he was kind of like frank with him, like, look, it's gonna be difficult, it's gonna be hard, And I don't know if Kamala has that kind of um moxie to pull that off, to speak in those terms, to where it's clear that she supports renewable so-called energies different than strictly being on drill baby drill. You know what I mean? Like, that's clear that everybody knows where she
Yeah.
stands. What she
Yeah,
needs to do is
same
to
with
be
President
able,
Obama, but you just got to thread that needle. That's all.
right? You have to be able to still speak to that large base of people that's going to suffer, because they are. And I think that Biden was listening, saying it's going to be hard, it's going to be difficult. But we're going to have to
Yeah.
offer you something different, and this is what we're going to do to transition. He spoke about a whole different thing, and he wrapped it up in a brand new bow. She needs to go back to what he said and kind of mirror that and make it her own policy, because it's basically going to be the same policy. When she said that I'm not gonna
Same with
cancel fracking,
Obama.
she's keeping the same policies basically that Biden
Yeah.
got in place. She's not going to change that shit.
But
She's going to keep it. She's going to keep it the same.
the people in those industries know it's coming. It's just how you handle them. It's the trick. Yeah.
Exactly right.
They're not stupid.
Exactly
People,
right.
the people
They're
in the
not
coal
stupid.
the people in the coal industry in Virginia,
They're
they
not
know
stupid.
they know what it
They
is,
know.
but it's
They
how you
know.
talk
Yes.
to them and deal with them
It's
about it.
how you talk to them and deal with them. That's exactly right. That's perfect. Exactly right. And he did it perfectly. He did it sort of like kind of frank talk, kind of like it was a
Coal
mixture of both. He
coal
was
jobs aren't
open and honest, and then he just, he did it
uh,
to where they understood, and it wasn't no big deal by the end of it. Like, literally, it was just like Trump couldn't attack him on that. Literally, that's what I'm saying.
right.
It was a nothing burger after he had that speech. I remember when he did it too. When President Biden did it
Because you
in 2020.
because you're dealing with booms and busts, and America has tens of thousands of boom towns and bust towns all over the country. And like you said, you got to deal with it. That's why Trump will go, he'll put on a hard hat in West Virginia and pretend that the coal jobs are coming back. We're gonna get you. No, it's automated. It's machines doing most of the work. You don't even need people no more like that. So the ones who get the job, but that's pretty much the end of it, right? A lot of mines, of course, have closed down, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But like you said, you can't do what Hillary did and just start shitting on people, though. That's the only catch. She made that mistake. Biden did not. It's very simple, right? He went to Pennsylvania. He went to all those states, right? And what did he do? Humble, compassionate, easy. Matter of fact, I would consider it pretty easy breezy. Really. You talk to, like you said, you talk directly to them. You protect what you can protect, and then you also let them know that we're going through it. We're going to have to go through a transition process. That's just how it is. Yeah, he did a really good. If you go back, we can go back and play some of his speeches, later on, but later on down the road. But I can actually show. I know you remember. I'm sure you remember some of those speeches, but he threaded that needle pretty good, I think. Which is why he got that vote in those places, by the way. If you look at the numbers, right? Because they just people. What it really comes down to, a lot of people just don't want to be forgotten about, more than anything.
Facts.
That we would have been 3 times that level right now. We would have been so dominant over Russia and Saudi Arabia. Look, Saudi Arabia, Russia, a lot of oil. We would have had more. We had something in Alaska, Anwar, that I created. I mean, Ronald Reagan wanted it. You remember Ronald Reagan wanted it. They all wanted it. And I got it approved. Nobody was able to get it approved. I got it approved. And the first week in office, they turned it back. They said, no, it's the biggest site possibly in the world, could be bigger than Saudi Arabia. Well, we're going to start that up. We're going to become the energy capital of the world. We're going to pay down our debt, and we're going to reduce your taxes still further. And your groceries are going to come tumbling down, and your interest rates are going to be tumbling down. And then you're going to go out, you're going to buy a beautiful house. Okay? You're going to buy a beautiful house. That's called the American dream. The American dream.
And if people believe everything that he just said, man, you a fool. You are a fool.
I ain't gonna fight you. I rather him to be honest about it to some degree and stop with the same old, same old. You know what? You know what's so funny, DC? Say if you're 42 years old, right, and you have a regular job and maybe an odd job or something. He can make taxes zero. You think that's gonna change anything? So I'll be wanting to know who are they talking about? Because if you look at your, say if you're making 15 to 25 bucks an hour, right, which is between 30 and 50,000 a year, right? And say if you didn't pay any taxes, you got your full check, you got your full amount of money, right? And you paid no taxes. You will be able, obviously, to be able to buy more things, do a little bit more shopping or whatever. But to be honest with you, looking at how the costs are, it's not really that much. Matter of fact, I won't get into that, but there's people who, you know, do what they do and really get most of their money back, and they're not going anywhere. They're not leveling up to a different class. Because if you're not grinding, and it's only so many obviously higher level jobs, and obviously you can always do your own thing, of course. But if you're not doing a lot of things, you're not going anywhere. That's why I don't know they're not really honest about that. You can talk to the kids about making sure they get a trade, or even some adults who want to go back to school or go back and get a trade. Of course, you can talk to those people. But the millions and millions of people who are not doing that, which we know that's tens of millions of people who have pretty okay jobs, they're not striving to go anywhere. And I always find it funny. Like, do those people know? You know, like it's always funny. I guess you would look at things more, I guess, aspirational, and you're doing it for other people as well. But I just know so many people, anecdotally, that they're not. It's just what it is. You know what I'm saying when it comes to working. Does that make sense?
Mr. President, I want to ask you a question about national security, but first I think it's important to point out what Luke is talking about: the cost of groceries, the cost of gas, the cost of housing, mortgages, rent, everything has gone up. Kamala Harris's plan that she has announced is government price controls. And I think it's important to touch on, you just laid out your plan. What's going to happen if Kamala Harris institutes price controls?
So that's a communist plan. It's never worked. And it's been tried by others. Believe it or not, Richard Nixon tried it. A lot of people tried it. It's been tried many times, and it always leads to the same failure. Tremendous inflation, lack of product. You don't have anything. The stores are not stocked. It has never worked. It's called control. They want control. And, look, it's been so often. And everybody that comes in, they say it. It sort of sounds great. We're going to go price control. Actually, when she announced it, she got absolutely slaughtered by even Democrats because it doesn't work. It's a known loser. So now she doesn't talk about it. You notice she doesn't talk about climate change anymore? She's not talking about it. You know why? Because people don't want to hear it. They want to live a good life. They want to live a life. They don't want to stop your industry with climate change. They used to call it different things, global warming. Remember, that wasn't working because it was getting a little bit cooler. So they said, what are we going to do? We'll call it global cooling. No. So they came up with the words climate change because that takes care of everything. It's climate change. The climate's changing, but according to them, we're all going to be gone in about, what do we have, 3 years left? They had 12 years, remember? So in about 3 years, let me tell you, we do have a problem, though. It's climate change, but a different kind of climate change. It's called nuclear global warming. We can say that's global warming. And if we don't have a smart president, you have 5 nations now with pretty massive nuclear power. Some have very massive, including us and Russia. China's behind, way behind, but within 4 or 5 years, they'll catch up. And we don't want them to catch up. Look, the biggest problem, in my opinion, the biggest problem our country has, the biggest problem the world has, is nuclear weapons. They are a destructive force, the likes of which nobody has ever seen before. And we have to make sure they're never used. We have to make sure it's not going to happen.
You're exactly right. You brought up Ronald Reagan already. Ronald Reagan famously said, "A nuclear war can never be won and should never be fought." And I think it's interesting you talked about climate change, Mr. President. The Democrats and Kamala Harris, they were quick to talk about how climate change is an
Yo, DC, so what's the plan then? Huh? 'Cause I didn't get a plan. Did we get a plan on that one? I've been waiting for someone to get back to starting to what were they doing back in the day when they were dismantling that they was making deals to dismantle the nuclear weapons? I forget the name of what that was called back then. But I would love to get back to that process and starting to remove some nuclear weapons out of our systems around the world. But I didn't hear really. Is he making an agreement with somebody? You know, was there anything done in the first 4 years when it comes to nuclear um, proliferation?
existential threat. But what they're not talking about is the existential threat of nuclear war and World War III, which is exactly where we sit today because of the warmongers and their puppets, Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. And they don't want to talk about it because the consequence of where they have taken all of us as the American people and the world is economic hardship around the world, a destruction of our economic well-being, and an annihilation of humanity, our families, our kids, our communities around the world. There was a recent poll that YouGov did that pointed out over 60% of Americans feel that World War III and nuclear war is going to happen within 5 to 10 years. And when I heard that, I felt so sad because they're at a point where they feel like this outcome, the annihilation of the world, is inevitable. So I wanted to ask you about this because it's important that people understand what kind of leadership you bring, what you will do to stop this slide towards nuclear war and World War III so that we can feel hopeful again.
Well, thank you. So Viktor Orban, a very strong leader from Hungary, Prime Minister of Hungary, they asked him recently about what's the problem in the world. A few years ago, during my time, we had we didn't have Israel being attacked. We didn't have Russia attacking Ukraine. And they asked him, why is it so bad now? The Middle East is on fire. So many places are on fire, and there are plenty places that could very well and very quickly catch on. What's the problem? He said, you have to bring Trump back as president of the United States. You will have no problem. He single-handedly kept things, and it's true. And I could do it with telephone calls by being smart, but literally he said, you have to bring Trump back. Now, he used a term I wouldn't use. He said everybody was afraid of Trump. You know who was afraid of Trump? They said China was afraid of Trump. Russia was afraid of Trump. They were all, and I don't want to say that. I will say this. They respected me and they respected our nation. They don't respect our nation anymore. They don't respect our nation anymore. Think of it. What would the world be like if Russia didn't do what they did, and they would have never done it? I used to speak to Putin about it. I had very good relations.
DMV, did you know UMGC tuition is low cost and you pay $0 for digital materials and
Horrible leadership that we displayed in Afghanistan. I think he said, wow, this is a time to go in, because I wasn't there. He would have never done it if I was president, and Israel would have never been attacked. Think of it. What would this world be like? You wouldn't have had that disaster. And it wasn't leaving Afghanistan. And they should have kept Bagram. That's the big air base. It's 1 hour away from where China makes its nuclear weapons. They didn't keep it. You know who occupies it now, Tulsi? China occupies it. So we have, if you have the right president, and we don't right now, do we even have a president? He just came in. Think of it. He just came in from wherever the hell he went. You know, there was a coup. He just doesn't know it yet. But there was a coup. How about that? He got 14. I'm not a fan of his. He was the worst president. But think of this. He got 14 million votes. She was the first one to leave, you know. Kamala was the first one to quit. she never made it to the first state in the primaries, which was Iowa. Never even came close. Other people did, but she never even came close. And all of a sudden, she was picked, and she's now running for president. And look, it just started, really. It just really started. The polls have us up here. We're up in this. We're up in states, but it's close. It's close.
We can't afford to do that. Let's speak these truths in a unified way so that we're not in one room talking about Black women's issues and then in a different room talking about Black men's issues.
I think all those issues
Right?
come together, especially in a barbershop, like this. To piggyback off what you were saying, what can we do? It's accountability. One part of unity is accountability. I grew up in Broward County. I see the same thing in Broward County when I was 15 that I saw here when I moved here. I've been in Columbia about 11 months now. Get called the same N-word, it doesn't really matter. However, well, yeah, I think overall, though, to help our leaders, I learned from a wise man. He told me that when he found himself in competition with other cultures, he didn't get mad. He fared well every time he competed.
Right.
There it is. I think you show accountability. I show up. We fight together regardless of what you have or what I have. I'm gonna hold you accountable. Now, when you slip it, I'm gonna let you know. And you let me know. That's how we help out the next president. Now, I'm not about hoping and wishing for too long, unless it comes with some hard work. My uncle was a Marine, 27 years or so, whatever, and he told me all the time as he punched me in my chest. Pain is weakness leaving the body. Forever and a day, that's what it is. So I think the pain of it, no one likes pain, but we all need it. In order to come through to this life, a woman had to go through some birth pains. So pain is part of it. I think we cannot shy away from it. We gotta stare at ourselves too. I think a lot of the stuff that we do see is a symptom of what's going on in our culture. And our culture is where we need to hone in everything that we need. And I think this is why you're here. And that's why we're all here. We grew up in a different culture. Now we gotta own it, and we gotta have accountability. I believe in that first, so we become more responsible for everything that we're gonna be moving forward. I don't think it's always the issue of how you hit me, it's how I hit you back. And I think that's more important. And I think you said it too when you first came in. I believe in building a legacy. So if I have to lay down first for it, it's what your grandmother did to tell that story. I want to tell a story too. My son's there. We're gonna tell a different story. But it's all about the pain you go through. So he's gonna go through some pain too. He'll be all right.
They always talk about in the barbershop. We hear candidates, say, "Oh yeah, we're gonna raise the minimum wage. We're gonna raise the minimum wage. We're gonna have and then another candidate say, no, forget about the minimum wage. We're gonna give you a living wage." But everybody in this barbershop, everybody in barbershop in America, every Black man, we want to own something.
That's right.
You feel me?
That's right.
We don't want to work $15 an hour in Miami, get you in the projects.
That's right.
$15 an hour in Atlanta gets you in the projects. You can't live off $15 an hour in LA. It's just that simple.
That's right.
But so those are the kind of conversations that we have, and most candidates pretty much don't understand that we want to know how we're going to own something. We don't
Let's
want
talk about that.
Yeah.
I like that. Let's talk about that. So I grew up celebrating Kwanzaa. And there's a Swahili term for it. It's called kujichagulia, self-determination, right? And that's where it's about. It's an old concept, right? It's from the ancestors. And the point is that you have the power within you, and then exercise that, right? That self-determination, and you can conquer. And so that's exactly your point, because that's an entrepreneurial spirit, right? So here's a number of things in terms of dealing with this issue. There is a real racial wealth gap in America. Black families own 1/10 of the wealth of other families. 1/10. One of the areas that I'm specifically focused on, I'm focused on entrepreneurship, and I'll get to that, but one of the other areas that I'm very specifically focused on is home ownership. Because home ownership represents intergenerational wealth. But let's go back to just more recently, World War II. So hundreds of thousands of people, mostly men, went to serve in that war. They were called the Great Generation. There were a lot of Black men who went to serve. America said, this greatest generation, they fought so hard. We are going to reward them and we are going to build a middle class with them. So there were these government programs to award grants and incentives for home ownership. Guess who was excluded?
Us.
Right. So when there was this massive infusion of basically startup capital, folks were excluded. Then so then that creates a disparity too, because it's not like it didn't happen at all. It did happen for many and not for some. Then you look at the history, and it's a crude outline of the history, but then you do the decades of redlining, which was in the South, it was in places like Chicago, the Midwest, West Coast, all of them, where it was basically it institutionalized that Black families could not buy homes, in particular in communities where the home would see a lot of value, right? So intergenerational wealth. When your daughter, Mariah, says, Daddy, I want to go to Howard, you'll be able to say to her, if you're a homeowner, honey, don't take out loans from those for-profit lenders who are going to charge all those outrageous interest rates. I'll take some equity out of my home. When your son says, Daddy, I want to start a small business, you'll say, son, don't take out one of those expensive loans. I'll take some equity out of my home. Intergenerational wealth. So what I intend to do is put $100 billion of federal money into families that are living in historically redlined communities and families that are living in federally subsidized housing to give them help with the down payment and closing costs for home ownership. Because if you want to talk about sustainable sources of wealth, just economic health, we're not talking extreme wealth, we're talking about the wealth that is necessary, to your point, to have a quality of life where you can send your children to college or you can help them start a small business. Home ownership is one of the most specific and tangible and real things that we can do around changing that balance around the racial wealth gap. So that's one part of it. What part of that also I'm focused on is an extension of that, is that to own a small business, to be an entrepreneur, you need startup capital. That means access to capital. You know that. Well, a lot of that is going to be a function of your credit history. So now credit history is basically, if you were to break it down, to just basically decide, are you a good bet? If I put my money on you, are you going to pay it back, right? It's supposed to measure, is this individual, are they responsible with money and the bills? But here's the thing, credit history mostly tests the responsibility of people who already have money. Because it tests, did you pay your credit cards on time? Well, nobody gave you a credit card if you didn't have some money. Or did you pay your mortgage on time? Same thing.
Don't have more.
Right? That's right.
Yeah.
So what I intend to do is expand it, because if it's supposed to be about, are you responsible with your money? How about asking, do you pay your phone bill on time?
Yeah, that's accounting. If you're renting,
Right? Do you pay your rent on
absolutely,
time?
yeah.
Do you pay your utilities on time? Because that makes you a good bet.
And also something similar to that, kind of piggyback off that I see that happens too, and it doesn't even have to be a broad ideal, is people that I know that if your credit history isn't that great and you have an emergency, it's predatory loans.
Right.
When you look at the fine print, 300% interest rates.
I know.
And I have no idea how that's legal. You know what I mean?
12 million people in America last year took out
Absolutely.
those payday loans
Absolutely.
at an interest rate often in excess of 3%.
And I would have these conversations with my friends, and I'd be like, hey, look at, you're paying for this 3 times over. And they're like, I have no choice.
I
If I need tires in a car, or if someone's sick and went to the hospital. And that's a real thing that I see on a regular basis, you know?
And it is like we always would talk about, you know where you are when you see a liquor store on every corner.
Yeah.
And now, as time has emerged, you see a liquor store on every corner, and you see those payday loan lenders on every corner. And that's real. And so that's about access to capital, right? I also have a whole piece that's about billions going into entrepreneurs around federal grants. And for the startup capital again. And the incentive is for folks to go into communities where it's going to be an infusion of capital, not only in that business, but in the community. Because as we know, our small business owners, historically and currently, are always not just leaders in business, but civic leaders, community leaders. They're always giving back. They're always hiring people. So talk about return on investment when we talk about finances, right? This is what the big Wall Street people, this is how they measure whether it's a good, if it's a cost and if it's worth it. Return on investment. The return on investing in entrepreneurs in the community is great.
Because sometimes when we start talking about Black people, and then when it gets to politics, it doesn't say Black people. We use a broad stroke like minority.
Yeah.
So now, when it comes to politics, and I'm a business owner, we did the exact same thing you just said. We were schooled in the barbershop. And the way we got our capital was the owner of the barbershop made all his barbers buy houses first.
Oh, really?
Yeah, we had to buy a house first.
That's right.
And we took the equity out of our
That's
first
right.
home and we opened up our first shop.
Yeah, that's right.
And we became the first Black franchise in 2017. He's the second franchise owner. So I say that, but that was taught in the barbershop. That wasn't taught. We didn't get that from politics. But the thing I'm concerned with politics is when we have these conversations, but when it gets to that level where you're at, they have to have this, we start defining things differently. And we're talking about specifically something that happens to Black people here in America. So we have to be specifically targeting to help those people because we put those people in a position and everybody knows this.
DC, you still on? Are you on or?
Yeah, I'm on. I'm at the gym right now, so I'm on though. I'm listening.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, did you have any other comment? I'm gonna shut it down. Did you have anything else you wanted to talk about?
Nah, I mean she needs to get some of that same energy, man, that she's doing right there. She needs to dig into it, I think. To be honest with you. Yeah. I think that she needs to find that
Tap back in, huh?
tap back in and go through it. Because once you go through it, they can't use it against you. That's the point. But she's in the pocket right there. I know she don't feel like that. But that's
in the pocket. Get away from them white goofy ass fucking progressives and liberals.
Yeah, you got to get away from
your
them,
ass
man.
over here around Black people, and that's when you're in the real world.
Yeah, the home stretch. She probably needs different leadership for the home stretch to keep it funky with you.
Look, bro.
You know.
Let me tell you something. Like me and you keep saying about progressives and lefties. In my opinion, they don't care about Black people or the Black race.
Oh, absolutely.
I don't care what nobody says. I follow them.
Absolutely. Yeah, this. I mean,
I hear how they talk, and I know what it's supposed to sound like when it comes to that, and it's not even a conversation. Outside of using it as some sort of, you know what I'm saying, like outside of just talking about us like with the comments, like, Blacks and crime and just calm struggles of America.
Right.
Like you're not really talking to me though, but you're trying to like use me though. And that's where she needs to be. It'll be much more effective. Even Obama did it.
Yep.
Because if he would have stayed around those weirdos on the far left, he wouldn't have been president. That'd have been a huge.
And not only that, he was told not to do that speech in Philadelphia. He was told not to do it.
Of course.
Don't upset. Be like,
some dumbass told him to have a fucking beer with a goofy ass fucking pig. The fuck, bro.
Yeah,
what are you doing right now?
Yeah, you just have to learn from the past, man, and keep it and kick the can down the road. You have to be able to understand the overall parameters and the limitations of your standard, which is basically capped out by your classification and your gender. You have to understand that this is normal, you know,
Yep.
to a degree. You have to
Yep.
look at it like that.
Because the system has to process you and digest you, and it has to be done in a way where it understands it. You can't play
Right.
with that. You can't play
And
because
there's
you will because
no
you
and
because
there's
you
no
will learn the hard
shortcuts.
way.
Yeah,
You
and
learn
there's
you
no
learn the hard way.
shortcuts. There's no
Right.
shortcuts. No shortcuts either. That's the
And
that's
don't
the
come to black
difficult
folks at
part.
the last and don't come to black folks at the last minute. You only got 68 days.
Yeah,
You better get
she needs to do a sit down, no matter how hard and no matter how angry and how, it's going to be contentious. She needs to sit down with some black men like she did right then and there. You know,
that's it.
a couple
Easy
of
breezy.
a couple of people that are not, they ain't feeling you. They need to hear some hard answers and some supporters and then some down the middle of the road. That's what
Yeah,
you got to do.
I would love for her to go on Math Hoffa show, the same show that RFK went on, and sit in that barbershop setting.
Man, I don't know about that one.
Okay.
No. I gotta watch that again because he kind of clowned us though. He kind of made us look. I mean, he didn't clown us. He did an exposure point to
Yeah,
black
but they're
men
real
in a
people
sense.
though.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. True.
That's fair. I'm not here protecting black men. So if that's how you, I know you're an expert in that stuff. So
No, I'm
if
not
that's
an
how you
expert in
interpret
that.
it, I get it.
I'm not an expert in that. I'm open to it. But I think that she is so nervous around not making a mistake that she needs to be like, it's okay to make one. That's where she needs to be now. You're further along in the campaign. People know that you're running. You need to get comfortable with being uncomfortable. That's
Yeah,
how Gussie said. You got to be
that's
comfortable
right.
with being uncomfortable now. Yeah.
Yep.
So you're not gonna be everybody's favorite. Everybody ain't gonna automatically love you, and it's okay. You know what I'm saying? It's okay
Hmm.
at the end of the day. You don't have to antagonize them. You understand it, and then you speak to their points. And what's not true, you speak to it, and your challenges, you speak to it, and you follow through. You speak through it.
I tell you one thing she don't need to do. She needs to make sure she talks to black men and black women separately. You cannot try to sell it. I know she's
I
trying
agree.
to back then she's trying to sell the whole
I
we're the
agree.
same thing. That's not gonna work,
That ain't
unfortunately.
gonna work. It's not
Not
gonna
now.
work. Yeah, it's not gonna work.
No.
Yeah, it has to be a separate conversation. I agree.
Yeah.
Wholeheartedly. And
Those
in
groups of
fact,
people
she may not.
those groups of people have been divided. So that's over with.
Yeah, and what's so crazy about it? She may not even have to actually speak to black women, by themselves. She can, but I mean,
She's
I
gonna have
don't. I
to
don't.
because A plus for white supremacy. Black people are absolutely divided and continue to
Yeah,
do so. And it
yeah,
worked.
yeah. It's true.
Dumbass black men and dumbass black women have fallen for the bait. And we're now we're gender divided, and now we're also class
Yeah,
divided, and we're also ethnically divided.
that's crazy.
So now I'm
You
litmus
really think
testing.
about it,
Now I'm
that's
litmus testing your
crazy.
blackness. So let's test: are you black enough? Are you
Right.
from the Caribbean? Are you from Africa, Colombia? Who's your parents? Who's your grandparents?
What language do you speak? Yeah, I mean, this is crazy. Yeah, yeah, you're right. Yeah, true. Facts on
Yeah,
facts on facts. You're right,
yeah. That's what happens when you're around white people in America for too long. You become them basically,
man. Whew.
in black skin.
Your
Are you Italian?
whole
You're Irish? You're mixed? You're Catholic? You're Protestant?
yeah, yeah.
What's your zip code? What's your economic?
Yeah,
Are you fresh off the boat? Did you just get here? You're not one of us.
yeah.
You don't have German blood or English blood in you or Viking
Yeah,
blood. Blah 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 blah. Right?
and it goes on.
You a Polak? You from Eastern Europe? What?
Yep,
You from the
yep,
Baltic states?
yep.
And now here we go. Oh, you're Jamaican, or you're half Jamaican,
Yeah,
you're a quarter Jamaican, and you're a quarter Haitian, and
yeah.
you're a quarter
Woo.
Black American.
Lord have
Are
mercy.
you from the South? Are you
Yes.
from the East Coast?
Ooh, yeah. Then it
So
goes.
stupid. So stupid. But it
It's
works.
a rabbit.
I ain't mad at
It
it. It
works.
works.
It's highly effective, man. You cannot knock
So
the
she needs
hustle.
to address. She needs to address because see the nativist blacks that exist
Highly effective.
now. She needs to address black people from an American perspective and deal with that little population that's out here running around talking about immigration and they need to go back home, which makes no sense to me because we're talking about black people from Haiti and from West Africa. A lot of those people, I mean, and from Brazil and from other places. But whatever, whatever.
Right.
If you're trying to turn us into something, I mean, it is what it is. You can't stop it, right? You can't stop it. There's
Well, like you said, the
an
propaganda.
appetite there, so
Yeah, the propaganda work that people want to be specialized and they want to have special
they want to
treatment.
be
So
special. They want
that's
special treatment. Facts.
that's the American way, broken down in a nutshell. Special interests,
Did you ever
you know.
did you ever think we would get here where we're like they said what is Abraham Lincoln who made that statement about the whole conquer and divide?
Abraham Lincoln.
Was that his phrase where he said you cannot succeed from I forget how that phrase goes. A house cannot stand. I forget. Anyway.
Oh yeah.
A house divided, something like that.
Yeah, house divided cannot stand. Yeah.
Right. So imagine black people coming out of Reconstruction, and you fast forward to right to this day, right today, and we are absolutely we're excited to be divided. Yeah. I hate women. I hate men. I hate immigrants. How is that possible?
Just think about how frustrating.
I will tell you this. Now, it would make sense if we were a lot richer. If black Americans were a lot richer and a lot more educated and we ran some industries, I wouldn't even fight it at that point. I'm like, well, shit, we own the tech industry and we own the marijuana industry now. We have multiple billionaires. We're making moves politically without having to worry about Democrat or Republican. We got super, we're shakers and movers. And I said, okay, we want to be assholes. Cool, got you. But are we still getting kneed on by cops?
Man,
aren't cops still snuffing us out? Aren't we still getting snuffed out and getting too much time in prison? Right?
Absolutely.
Last time I checked. Are we still getting stopped and frisked? We still getting stopped and frisked.
Absolutely.
We're still getting bullshit loans. We're still getting red line. It doesn't matter if you're Black American, Jamaican American, African. It doesn't really matter, right?
Oh, yeah.
I don't know.
Fourth classification. That's the reason for it.
And again, DC, and just because you come to this country and they can sparse those numbers out and show that if you're a Black immigrant, you have a higher wealth, just wait. Just give it some time.
Right.
Welcome to America. Just give it some time. And that goes for a lot of other groups too, by the way, that are not white in this country. Just give because me and you have seen too many great resets. And when it resets, that run that you have goes away. And if you're not white, you would not be saved. It's just a matter of time, just so you know, right? Just so you know, it's just a matter of time. Good luck out there in this economy.
Yeah, it starts all over again.
When this country does that big dump, that big flush, and as whites rise back economically and come through the fire like a phoenix, you somehow think Indians, Asians, and Blacks and others are going to be attached on the next run? Yeah, okay. I'll believe it when I see it.
Yeah.
I believe what I see it. I believe what I see that. I mean, I'm not saying it's not gonna happen, but good luck out there. Because you find yourself next to me like, damn, I'm a nigga now. Yeah, well, I understand you have great stories about your grandfather and what he did when he came over here as an Indian or something or whatever. Or was a Nigerian. Yeah, that was, you know what I'm saying? You know how that go, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because our economy, it giveth and it taketh away.
And it makes adjustments on the fly.
You be riding high for 3 or 4 generations right away. I said, I'm gonna go study white folks and see what they look like. Good luck out there. Because I can show you millions. I can show you millions and millions of white folks who have great stories they told about their grandfathers.
Yeah.
And they had a good run. And they're still gonna get that white protection in this country. What are you gonna do in the future, generationally, while you're constantly trying to divide yourself and separate yourself? Good luck. Good luck out there with that, boy. But anyway, did you have any other last words?
That's it, man. I mean, we'll continue this thing and follow it as it goes along, man, and just observe and make our comments and just keep it moving.
All right. Well, this is the Code Breakers. This is Paradox.
And this is DC. Until next time. Peace.